Two. Yes, we hear you.
Great.
All right. So I have pressed the button. We're waiting for the light to go green. We're waiting to start the train wreck. All right. The light is green. We are showing up on YouTube Live. We are going to start right now in 3 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi. This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. Streaming live on YouTube and Roku, available as a podcast and enjoyed the world over. And now, here's your host. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALK episode 75. It is the show that we like to call the train wreck. The train has left the station. The train is on the rails, but it won't remain there for long. But we're back. We are live. We are on the air. This is not a fuzzy bunny cartoon by any means, but there are a bunch of fuzzy bunnies in the panel, starting with the fuzziest of bunnies, Al Hartman. How are you, sir?
Very fuzzy and okay.
We also got a fairly fuzzy guy from Arizona, Ron Delvo.
Hi, everybody.
Not quite so fuzzy today, L. Curtis Boyle.
Hello, everyone from snowy Canada, where it's snowing pretty good outside right now. I was thinking, too, we could probably just name the episode Trainwreck, but then I thought I would add a bit more, and obviously we'd have to name every episode Trainwreck. So
yeah. And which one? What is this Trainwreck number 75?
Yes.
Number them sequentially. Looking fairly fuzzy himself, petting his furry cat. We've got Mark D. Overholzer with us. In the dark, in the witness protection program from somewhere in Denmark, we have Simon Jonassen. The Madman is with us. We have potential president of Glenside Color Computer Club, Mr. Eric Canales is in the house today. Hello, Eric.
Yes, hey.
Creator of the Switcheroo, as seen at PenFest 99, PenFest 2000, CoCoFest 2018, as seen at CorgsCon, Hamvention, as seen at the Department of Motor Vehicles. We've got Jason, the Coco Man Reichert, with us in the house.
Hey.
Hello, hello. In the live chat, we have got, let's see who we've got in the live. Davey Mitchell is here. Retro Innovations is here in the live chat. Remix the Nobody is here. Brian Wiesler is here saying hello from Dallas. Paul Fiscarelli is here saying hi, everyone. And Remix the Nobody says hi from England. So we're in the show. We're live today. For those of you who did not hear the spontaneous After Dark that we did last week, Sunday, we pulled a Hail Mary at the last minute. We pulled off a show, but I know some of you were here last Saturday at the usual time, same bat channel, looking for CoCoTALK Live. And unfortunately, we did not have the show for a variety of reasons, but the interesting / comical thing was that for whatever reason, you guys got to see a bunny cartoon instead of the show. And one of the things I tried to do was to schedule to re-air like a best of episode just to have that air live. And it turned out that the file was too big and the service that would have live streamed a pre-recorded video, they wanted to charge me a membership fee to do it. And I'm like, screw that. And so I just figured it wasn't going to air because my file was too big. And somehow they aired some type of demo video that was a freaking cartoon. So I don't know why that happened, but it did. I just know I opened up my browser and I saw that I was live streaming. I wasn't sure why I was live streaming. I thought I was hacked. It took me a little while to get to the bottom of the mystery. I had to get out Scooby and the gang, but we got it. Zoinks! And so it was just one of those things. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the bunny cartoon. Sorry we could not be live last week, but we did pull off an After Dark Sunday. If you missed it, it's available for replay, and I actually just published it this morning as a audio and video podcast as well. All right, so were we just joined by Retro Innovations as well? Jim Brain, the man, the myth, the legend?
The man, the myth, the legend.
All right, in the dark, no less, too.
That's right. Yeah, I got to figure that out.
You look
A
best in
legend
the
in his
dark.
own mind.
There we go. There you go.
Remix the Nobody says, how's life, dudes? Alexander Wallace is here. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Alexander is in Mexico, South America, North America, some type of America. All right. So I know we're going to be talking about VCF Midwest, so we'll do that as a segment. That's like our probably our main topic next to Assembly. Steve Bjork will be joining us in a little while. CoCoTALK just got here. David Ladd, jump on the call, David. We need you. David, the world needs you. Ken Reichert says, what will this be this week's lessons controversial topic? So, yeah, we'll see. Just stay tuned for the controversy of the week there, Ken.
I'm predicting Branch Never. That's going to be the one.
Yes.
Or the load.
Just remember, there is no spoon. And there we have it. Simon the Madman is here. Simon, we've been watching some of your videos. You're playing crunchy sounding square waves. You're animating plasma effects. You're bending time, space, light, wielding sorcery. Anything else you've been up to, Simon, besides your mad demos?
Just helping other people at the end of the day.
Yeah. We've seen some of the stuff that Paul Thayer's working on. That looks...
Square wave player for his Pico Pro thing. So.
Yeah, that looks really good. I got a message from Hugo DeFort. He's saying that he would like to be able to join us. He can't join us today, but hopefully we'll have Hugo on in the near future because I really want to hear about his project.
Really good, actually.
Yeah, the graphics are looking very good. I would love to see those in motion. On the Steadicam today, Ron Delvaux is with us.
That's right.
Shaky cam provided by Ron Delvaux.
Earthquake.
So anybody who I know if you're at VCF, you have a lot to talk about. For the rest of us who could not make it, anybody have anything to catch us up on this week? Anything you did, anything you saw, anything you want to share? This is share your feelings time. Go ahead, Mark.
Two things. Well, so I'm plugging along on Retro Challenge. I'm struggling this week. But I just acquired from Steve Batson his domain retrotandy.com.
Okay.
End of the you need to renew the thing, renew the domain name. He didn't want to keep the hosting space, and he got rid of all his forums because of all the European regulations. So anyway, I now have retrotandy.com. And I was thinking, what could I do with that? I mean, I've got a whole bunch of other domain names too, but it's like, it'd be cool. I could do email redirectors. Or if you want, I can give you an email account with 2 gigs of space. So if you'd like to have your name at retrotandy.com, get a hold of me.
All right. Operators are standing by. And will there be a fee for this, Mr. Overholzer?
Nah.
Free email.
How much would you pay? Don't answer yet.
Free email is nothing good.
It's all part of my hosting plan I pay for anyway. So, I have like unlimited emails and you get 2 gigs per account. So,
okay. There you go. We got one from Jim Brain. He wants to go for retro at.
Gotcha.
Retrotandy.com. There you go. And will you be monitoring all of the people's personal and private messages as they come in and out of your mail server?
I don't think I can. I don't think there's like an override, to peek in the accounts. So
I only want to.
We'll see what advertising pops up, and we'll figure out if he is or not. So.
Yeah, I only want to subscribe to this free service if my privacy will be heavily invaded.
One thing about it, set up a redirector to another email account. It doesn't even work. It just forwards it on. So there's nothing to look at. So.
And we have also just been joined by Mr. Richard E. Crislip. Hello, Richard. How are you?
Hey, I am so good it ought to be against the law. But took me a while to figure out how to use Zoom, but I got it.
All right. Microphone sounds incredible. It's so lifelike and so realistic. It almost sounds like you're 40 feet away from it. So.
Hello.
Plus, I have 3 servers and 3 powers running next to it, so that's got to be helping with the ambiance.
That's great. That's great. It's good to have you. It's been a while. Have not had the pleasure of your company in some time. Where are you going? Now you're taking a page from the Ron Delvaux Shake the Camera book.
Shaky cam.
Tonight's episode in Shaky Vision.
Yes, this segment is brought to you by Dramamine. So
It's about a 5 on the Richter scale, I think.
yes. Good. So for those who don't know, Richard Crislip is a longtime standing member of the Glenside Color Computer Club, right, Richard?
Right.
You live in the Chicago-ish area?
No, actually, I live in the Akron-ish area, Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
Oh, we're practically neighbors.
Where are you at?
I'm down near Steubenville.
Okay. Yeah, I see the Ohio license plate above your head there.
Excellent. So what's been new with you, Richard? Anything to report?
Not really. I have. I've been reading about on the multimedia mail list about these CoCo sticks. Got me kind of interested in that. Plus, getting the CoCo running on a Raspberry instead of.
What is a CoCo stick?
Well, as I understand it, they have these USB sticks now that have processors in them.
Oh, the little computer sticks.
Exactly.
So they're running a CoCo emulator on those?
Yeah, they're booting up VCC. What was
ECC?
VCC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Booting that up and right into the CoCo if it's set up properly.
Okay. That's interesting. Neat little application.
So they're running Intel Atoms, I think. I don't think they're running ARMs. I haven't.
Okay, cool. No, I haven't heard of that project. I have not been on the mailing list in quite some time. So,
Yeah,
cool.
I saw you sign out.
Yeah. Arville has joined us. Arville Best is here. Hello, Arville, in the live chat. Very cool. Did you make it to VCF Midwest, Richard?
Did not, but I do plan on attending the Tandy Assembly.
Oh, good. Good. You were there last year, too. I remember seeing you.
I was.
Excellent. I'm hoping to go as well. Very, very good.
I believe Akron is within the obligated requirement distance of that event, so.
Yeah, it's in Ohio.
Yeah. You have a moral obligation.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've just been joined by David Ladd. He was on camera for a second, then he got shy, turned it off. All right,
I think
so
it
there's
was
David.
the chair. Hello.
There he is. Welcome back, David.
I think he accidentally almost had an exposed floppy drive on there. That's why he cut the camera on.
That's right. This is a family show, David. All right. Very, very cool.
Keeping us from a censor ding there.
Bruce Moore just joined us saying greetings. Greetings, Bruce. Feel free to jump on the train wreck at any time. Curtis, anything new and exciting with you?
Nope, it's all work still.
All work and no play makes Curtis a dull boy.
Well, actually, I'm dull anyways, but sure.
So I take it no more cranking away on the ease of use updates?
Not yet. Lots of plans for it. I got a lot of notes, but haven't had a chance to actually do anything with it yet.
Excellent.
Still shooting. We're going to have another release in October, though. Probably near the end of October, I would guess.
Great. Ron Delvaux, do you have any time to post anything to Facebook this week, or were you busy?
You may have caught something. I have a new acquisition.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Second garage?
It's a Radio Shack
All right.
keyboard.
Oh,
Is
wow.
it MIDI compatible?
Yes, it says
Oh.
MIDI. Logo is right here.
That's
You
cool.
should be able to
Where'd-
plug that into your CoCo then.
It was $9.99, and I don't have a power supply. I got to get one, but there's a MIDI port right here.
Neat.
Now, when you said you acquired a Radio Shack, I thought, with all your room, you may have acquired a whole Radio Shack store.
Well, no. I could probably open one, though.
Yeah, you
Back
could.
in the day. I need some of those. You know what I need is the wall things. where you-
the pegboards.
yeah.
Yeah,
where
the
you-
hangers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
No way. So
Yeah.
where'd you get that keyboard from?
Just minutes before I got on the show on Goodwill down the street.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you have to fire up Altimuse and Lear and a few other things there and try it out once you get your power supply and cable.
It was half price. Hang on, I got the wife's beckoning me.
And is that Roku? Is that Roku in the background there, Ron? Are we live on Roku? The wife is beckoning. Look at all these frickin' screens. Hey, there's the wife. Hey, wife. We're waving at you. That's Mrs. Delvo. Today on what Ron's wife has to say.
Today on what Ron did wrong.
You bought another what?
She's leaving. She's had enough.
Hey, you're a what?
She's gone.
Chris Peterson's joining us now too, saying, "Hey, what's up, everybody? Watching here from work on my lunch break. Good. Hopefully, we won't ruin your appetite."
Too late, but go on.
Yeah.
My ex-wife was psychic. She used to know I was wrong before I even opened my mouth.
Oh, geez. You know, yeah, put 44 years in like I do, and you have like a relationship, you know.
Yeah.
It works out.
Your wife is a lovely woman, Ron. She could have done so much better.
Well, too bad she didn't hear that.
Lucky for you, right? So
Coco Cat. As long as you get the last word in. Yes.
yeah. Far out. Anybody else got anything cool going on this week they want to share with us? Show and tell time. Share your feelings.
How many of us, when we have our computers on, flips a circuit breaker off? Anybody?
Just you, Ron.
No, I haven't either. No, I'm just asking. Because Jim Brain has a lot of stuff there, too.
I do. I flipped the circuit breaker here.
So does Richard.
Hey, I just got a funny joke sent to me by somebody watching us on Mixer. You guys want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
this comes from not sure if I'm pronouncing it right now. Rapids Jacko says, "You want to hear something funny? Is an argument between two vegans still called a beef?"
Yeah. That's good.
Yes, good one there. Rapids Jacko with the jokes. Knock knock.
What does that do?
Yeah, all right, so we have Ron Delvaux panning around his his room of technology. It must be about 9,000 degrees in there, Ron, with all that old tech, huh?
I dropped the temperature some and the fan's on.
Okay. Yeah.
Does the electric company send you a Christmas card every year?
I have a special rate.
Hey, there's Coco Cat number 2. Earlier in the show, before we went live, Coco Cat number 1 was on with Mark Overholzer. What's your cat's name? Rocky, right?
Rocky, yep.
Right. Hey, Rocky, how you doing?
How you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, how you doing? It's Rocky. Excellent. Well, I have a project. I have an acquisition I'm going to show off here. And in order to do that, let me play a quick little spot here, because this spot is going to be a little teaser in what I'm going to show you guys right now.
Switcheroo, the RGB to SCART solution for the Color Computer 3. Use your CoCo with a modern display. Go from RGB to composite with just the flip of a switch. The Switcheroo. Artifact colors do not work in Australia. Hashtag irony. CoCo3SCARTcable.com.
Woohoo! So, for those of you who have never seen a switcheroo before, I got to say it comes in a very nice Ziploc bag with a custom printed label, switcheroo. So it's sealed in for freshness. So when you pop it open, it's still got that new switcheroo smell right out of the bag. It's got a nice lengthy USB cable, because you do need the USB to provide some voltage. This is the part that plugs into your SCART adapter. And then, of course, then it's also got a nice little label on it here that says switcheroo. Here's the switch. Here's the flip of a switch, right? And so this is how you flip it to composite or RGB. And then on the other end of this cable here, this is the little part that plugs into the RGB port on the back of your CoCo. So there's a total of what? RGB and video connect to your CoCo. You've got USB for power. There's Sailor Man. And then you've got the SCART output that will go into your SCART to HDMI box. So this is the whole setup. And, nice Ziploc bag, nice label. And then he's even got now printed instructions on where to connect your RGB, where to connect your composite, where to connect your SCART connection, and then the fact that you need USB power. And on the back, too, which I thought was a nice feature, is a link to lots of places. It's because you're selling this on eBay now, Jason?
Yes, I've sold a few on eBay now.
So
And,
if somebody buys this on eBay and they're not familiar with the color computer community, they've now got a list of how to find CoCoTALK and the Facebook group and the mailing list and the CoCo Crew podcast and Tandy Assembly and CoCo Fest. And so he's promoting the community with every sale. And it's a very nice put together package. The one thing I think that's a little bit different on yours than the one I got from Richard Lorbieski is you're pulling your audio from the RGB out on the CoCo, so we don't need another input for audio from the CoCo. So it's one less cable to plug into your CoCo with this one. And the added benefit of the switch, right?
Absolutely. And special thanks to Michael Brandt for the community listing idea that I have on the back there.
There you go.
He came up with it. I put it together.
Shout out to Qui-Gon there. Good. And in the background right now, you've got one running, and right now we are in RGB mode, right? So we're in black and white. You flip a switch, and now we've got colors.
You got it.
Excellent. The flip of a switch. Great. So that was my little cool thing to get in the mail. I can't wait to plug it in and try it out. Good stuff. All right. So have we done our little round robin? Has everybody had a chance to talk about anything that happened to them this week? Anybody have any bad dreams or anything else? Anything you want to share? We good? Anybody wet the bed? Get a hangnail? Anything else like that? Pressing information?
At VCF, I got a whole bunch of toys from Jim Brain.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the official VCF segment after the break here. All right, we're gonna take a quick moment here to look at our sponsors, and we'll take a commercial break, and then we'll get back and we'll jump into our main segment, which would be our VCF Midwest 13 wrap-up show. So let's start off by acknowledging some of the people we like and even a few that we don't. Our sponsors, the people who contribute to the color computer, and of course I was kidding, we like just about everybody. So what do you need to know about? Who do we need to thank? Who should we acknowledge? How about the CoCo VGA project at CoCoVGA.com? Cool way to get VGA output to a CoCo 1.2 Dragon computer. Mr. Sailing Around the World, Richard Lorbieski at Boyson Technologies on a cruise ship near you at boysontech.com. All kinds of cool products, including the Boomerang. With us on the call, Mr. Jim Brain of Retro Innovations at go4retro.com. All kinds of cool modern hardware for retro machines, including Commodore, Texas Instruments, and CoCo products. One of the longest lasting members of CoCo hardware in the community, Cloud9 Technologies. Cloud9tech.com. All kinds of goodies over there. And we got a couple of good projects here, like the SD pack. We just mentioned the Switcheroo, which you can get at cocoman.biz or coco3scartcable.com. As you see on one of Ron's 14 monitors behind him there, we are live streaming on Roku TV on the CoCo TV channel. Thank you to Roger Taylor. If you want to get a cool t-shirt like what Mark Overholzer and I are wearing, I think Jason's wearing one too. If you want cool CoCo swag, you can go to the Retro Swag Shop. Curtis has got his mug at 8bit256.com. If you're new to the community and you want to learn about the color computer, go to imacoconut.com for links to all kinds of cool CoCo content. We at the CoCoTALK podcast can be reached on the website of cocotalk.live, where you'll see links to email us feedback and suggestions, links to the YouTube channel and to the Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram and JDate and Snapchat and all that kind of stuff. Let us not forget the CoCo Crew podcast, the podcast that started them all. They are now in their 4th year. They are now on 38 or 39 or 40 episodes. We recently heard that they've reached 30,000 downloads. So check out the CoCo Crew podcast at cococrew.org. Our good friend of the show, Brian Joyce at Extructus Productions at fd501.com. There you can see blogs and RGB charts and projects that he's working on. Last but certainly not least, another guy who makes hardware for the CoCo, because Lord knows there aren't enough of them out there. Ed Snyder, the Zipster at the Zipster Zone, ZIPPSTER zone.com. Check them out, and we'll be back. It's time for a potty break and a commercial. We'll see you in just a minute.
Hi, this is Rick Adams, and I'm the author of Temple of Wrong, Shanghai, and now Bomb Threat, and you're listening to Steve Bjork on CoCoTALK.
Hi, I'm Mike Rowan, and you're watching the original gamer, Stevie Stroh. And when you're done watching, come over and listen to the CoCo Crew podcast.
Hi, this is John Linville.
And Neil Blanchard.
We are the CoCo crew. I hope you're enjoying watching Stevie Stroh play video games, especially the CoCo games. And when you're done with that, check out our podcast at CoCoCrew.org.
What's going on, everybody? It's me. It's the original gamer, Stevie Stroh. And I want to talk to you about our talk shows. So some of you are probably aware of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer, which we've been doing right here on this YouTube channel for, gosh, over a year and a half, and over 10,000 podcast downloads and 30,000 views of the live stream. It's been a pretty popular show, and ironically, it's about an old computer that's 30 years old that most people don't know about, and still, it's been a fun, cool show. So what's happened is that CoCoTALK has evolved into CoCoTALK After Dark, which is kind of like the adult drinking game version of the show. Very fun, very fast, very loose, but still good times. And CoCoTALK After Dark has now evolved into two other shows now that I think are going to be of interest to a lot more people. So we're going to have a Retro Talk show that is about all kinds of vintage systems and retro gaming consoles and whatnot. And then we have another show that's called Geek Talk that is going to be about anything cool. So if you're into like movies and comics and collectibles and the Marvel Cinematic Universe or collecting Funko Pops or whatever it might be, Geek Talk might be the show for you. So if you'd like to join a live talk show and either be on the show with us and talk with us or be in the live chat, anyways, if you like talking about cool stuff and fun stuff, join us on a future live talk show right here on this Original Gamer channel, and we'll see you there, and let's talk.
Some people have big plans after school. You know what Elliot's going to do? Jeff, too. Elliot's at work on a book report using Scripsit on Radio Shack's Color Computer 3. It hooks up to his TV. And Jeff's at his Radio Shack Color Computer 3 playing the newest football game. But wait, what's Elliot doing playing new Super Pitfall? And Jeff's having a blast with a new math tutor. You never know what you might try with more than 100 programs for fun and learning. Radio Shack's Color Computer 3 comes with everything you see here. Other items each sold separately. Only at Radio Shack.
Did anybody ever have a blast with a math tutor? I cannot imagine that being something kids would be in front of the TV saying, "Oh my
Having
God."
a blast with the new math tutor.
I think under the influence of acid, it might have, but other than
All right, so who else joined us in the call now? So we got Chris Peterson here. Chris has been mentioning in Facebook that he's been looking for EdTasm to get into assembly. He says he's looking forward to the assembly segment today. What else? Sheldon McDonald, I'm new to SCART cable. Do you need a monitor that supports SCART connection? Is there an adapter to VGA? Well, actually, they make these boxes, Sheldon, that's a SCART to HDMI adapter. So you plug the SCART into one side and you have HDMI out from the other side. And then with that flip of the switch, the same box and the same cable will give you both RGB and composite on the same deal, just with the flip of a switch. Mikey has joined us. We've got the cat's butt perfectly in camera here. We got the brown eye winking at us. So Davey Mitchell, Mikey says that foot better not get in the way of the MC10 program that I'm working on. We had the big Monty Python foot squishing the thing. All right, cool. And Bruce Moore says you might be blown away. It just kind of depends on the math tutor. Probably not the one in the cartridge, but maybe a hot for teacher type math tutor might just blow you away. So there we have it.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
On Show Us Your Color Computer, Paul Barton just put a picture up, and he's got some interesting things hooked to his CoCo if you want to take a look.
Yeah, let's take a look at that real quick. Let me pull up the Facebook group. Paul, what are the odds that Paul Barton would be working on something on a CoCo right now, huh? Show us your Tandy Color Computer. And how many wires and what color wires do we have here? The world wants to know.
Actually, he's done pretty well, so I'll come back.
Okay. Let me switch over here. Left screen. Okay. Show us your Tandy. Okay, Paul T. Barton. What do we got here, Paul? All right. Current setup, CoCo 3, a Y box. So I see that there. It's like just a multi-pack splitter. A Y box, no wiggling there. 8 megabytes. Okay. SDC, single chip IDE controller, PC power for the IDE drive over here. Holy flustercluck, Batman. There's the drive in the background there. under the monitor edge. So we have the IDE drive. the PC Power fans for the CoCo 3 heatsink. Where's that at right now?
Oh, it's next to it.
Okay. I see his joystick there.
Yeah, by the joystick.
Way too many LEDs, he says. 5 alone in the DAT PC board. Date and time on the monitor is wrong. That's cool, though. So Paul's been tinkering.
That reminds me of the old days with the PC power supplies running your floppies and your hard drives all simultaneously.
Yeah.
I just do that too.
Like Paul Barton is to hardware what Simon Jonason is to software. You know, it's just like that mad scientist tinkering with the soldering iron. Just
Don't let the blue smoke out.
Don't let the magic smoke out. Yeah, that's cool.
Curtis is cringing.
Yeah.
No, no.
So that's another group on Facebook, because Lord knows there aren't enough groups on Facebook, but there is a group. Ron has got about 19 of them. So he's got Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer. He's got the OS9 group. He's got the CoCo Marketplace.
Well, that isn't mine, actually. I just
it's not?
Header for it. No.
Oh, okay.
That belongs to Roger.
Oh, Roger Taylor's got the CoCo Marketplace?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
I got a new one, though, called Deskmate.
You have a Tandy Deskmate group?
Yeah, just got started.
Coming up next week will be the Ron's FD500 with the original Tech Drive group.
Yeah, right. So that's got to be a hotbed of activity. Speaking of Deskmate, so let me. We're on Facebook, right? Let me switch over here in just a second. I want to show you guys something else. Oops, wrong frickin' thing here. Hold on one second. I got too many buttons to click on here. Press the button, Frank. All right, so. Let me get out of here. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this system, but I want to show it to you. So one of the groups that I'm in is the Florida Retro Computer Club, right? Now, they posted a commercial here for a system. Has anybody heard of the Head Start Explorer?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna play this video for you guys, because what this reminds me of the Tandy one. Wasn't there a Tandy 1000 that they had like DOS and Deskmate built into ROM?
Yes.
Yeah. This reminds me of that. So this is kind of a cool commercial, and if you guys have too much, if you've seen it too much and it's getting old, let me know. But this is a system that I think in some ways was a little ahead of its time. And this was like this guy Stuart from the group. He's like our solder genius. He found an old VHS tape of this and did a transfer of the VHS tape to digital. The audio is a little bit out of sync, but it's kind of interesting. Hold on one second.
What the ideal info?
Let's start over again. But it's got Leonard Nimoy.
Imagine for a moment what the ideal information processor would be like. What would be the most human-compatible computer we could design? It would be compact, sleek, and be compatible with our lifestyle and decor, both at home and in the workplace. This perfect processor would need to be compatible with the vast quantities of information already available to us, which on Earth we refer to as software.
On Earth, he
of
says.
Course,
Notice
it
that.
would need the ability to expand, to attach peripherals of various kinds, to use all the resources we are familiar with to process our information without any barriers whatsoever. We would also demand the capability to access the facts we use regularly, the tools on our desk, and have instant access to the important information in our lives, separating the rubbish from the useful. And most
you're not talking about Facebook.
Yeah.
This perfect information processor would have to be expandable, allowing us to add horsepower as our needs grow.
Ooh.
Still, we want to be able to expand easily without becoming an engineer.
Does this look familiar?
In the process. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to say that this ideal information processor now exists, and thanks to Head Start Technologies, is available to people everywhere. From a company that has always been advancing the state-of-the-art in consumer computing, a division of North American Philips Corporation, one of the world's largest technology conglomerates. Meet the Head Start Explorer. Finally, computing brought down to earth. The Explorer's unique fold.
Have any of you guys seen this or heard of this before?
No.
Nope.
Wait till you see some of the stuff. Is this getting old, or are you still interested in this?
I'm still interested.
This is riveting.
Dual 6809s in it?
Hey, it's got Leonard Nimoy. How bad can it be, right?
Up keyboard and all-in-one construction makes it a perfect complement for the home or office. Yet, behind this attractive, sleek package is a human-compatible computer that embodies all the ideals we would want in the ultimate information processor. The Head Start Explorer is completely compatible with the largest base of software in the universe, the world of the IBM compatible. Yet, the Explorer goes far beyond that with its built-in graphical interface. For the first time, here's a computer that turns on instantly, is ready to use immediately without needing a disk and no learning curve. Just a push of this red button on the side, and the computer comes to life, presenting you with useful tools immediately. On the left, you have 5 built-in applications: a date book for tracking your appointments and to-do list, a handy desk calculator complete with memory and a printable paper tape, a phone book to instantly retrieve the numbers that are most important to you, a full-function word processor with a 100,000-word spelling checker. Notice how in all the included programs and in the Explorer environment, what you see is what you get. The buttons on the screen graphically present your options, and quite literally, with a push of a button, your changes are instantly shown on the screen, so there's no mistake. You get immediate feedback and results. The same immediate feedback is built into every function within every Explorer program. You press the button to select text, and the Explorer guides you step by step. Also included is a versatile filing cabinet for managing your day-to-day information. Since there's no learning curve, and all your options are graphically presented, just press the button, and the successful results are immediately evident. Best of all, these built-in programs are all IBM compatible. And since they are all built into ROM, the 384K of read-only memory in the Explorer, you can use all these tools without struggling with any diskettes. Just turn it on, and the applications appear instantaneously. Across the bottom of the screen, you will see the peripherals that you have attached to the computer: a mouse, printer, or joystick. And along the right side, you see the disks that you have inserted into the computer. The Explorer instantly senses when you have inserted or removed a disk and vividly shows you what you have available. You can navigate your way through the IBM-compatible programs and let the Explorer do the work, managing your data for you, turning it into useful information. The sleek, trim look of the Explorer belies its expandability. The basic computer comes complete with a mouse port, serial port for modems, parallel port for printers, connection for joystick, and a connector for an external 5¼ floppy drive.
Ooh, David.
Into the main board of the machine, you get the 4 types of IBM-compatible video: monochrome, Hercules, CGA, and our own custom 16-color extended CGA. On the right side, you have a 3½ floppy drive and what looks to be a battery compartment, but is actually a specially designed Automagic disk drive slot. Just open the compartment.
Bruce says it looks like ease of use.
40-megabyte Automagic disk drive, and the installation is complete.
Automagic.
The Explorer bulletin board will automagically sense that you have installed the drive. Click on the icon of the Automagic hard drive, and you will see a menu of the 10 additional programs that come with the Automagic drive. Family favorites like the Sesame Street programs, bestsellers like Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, and the Chessmaster 2000.
You can't have a blast with Math
like
Tutor,
Head Start's
though.
own Office Manager, and useful utilities like Backup Pro and X-tree. This is the first computer designed to be completely expandable without needing an engineer or even a screwdriver. Just pop off this top compartment and you can expand the memory with the Explorer RAM pack and expand your world even further with this completely IBM compatible expansion slot. The incredible Head Start Explorer, an instant on machine which is immediately useful with MS-DOS and 5 applications built into the memory of the computer.
Wow,
A
that's
graphic environment that is completely intuitive, designed to be immediately usable with absolutely no learning curve. Completely IBM compatible, so you can access the thousands of IBM compatible programs out there. And in the very near future, many of today's best-selling programs will also be tailored to make full use of the advances in the Head Start Explorer. You get expandability.
What do you guys think of that, huh?
That's pretty cool.
I want one.
How do they did they have any thought of upgrading the or changing the firmware? No.
Honestly, I don't know. Like I said, I'd never heard of this system before.
Yeah, was this ever actually released, or was this just like a
apparently? Because actually, somebody posted a link to somebody selling one of these on eBay right now in the box with the box and everything else.
So, what time frame was this out? I'm just curious. Was it pre-Windows?
It had to be, because they're really kind of pushing the fact that it was graphical, and I would have it's hard to remember, but there was a time that the fact that we had to launch software from a command prompt was intimidating to a lot of non-technical people.
There was a small problem with the hard drive. The bay in which it sits does not have adequate ventilation. If you left the drive running for a long while, it would really heat up. Eventually, it was heat up to the point of softening the plastic around it. If you weren't using the monitor stand and had just set the monitor on the main unit, that side would start to smush down.
Are you looking up some factoids on it?
Yeah, there's it was produced. It was on there's a link to it on the Obsolete Computer Museum.
Okay. How many was sold?
Doesn't say. No,
Does it say when it was sold? Like what year?
I'm looking. No, it doesn't say.
I'm just glad to see it was human compatible.
Human compatible.
Human compatible. I just thought this was hilarious that you basically put your monitor on there and all of a sudden your monitor would start going No, it doesn't say that. I'd have to look up somewhere else. But it was produced. It's an XT.
Yeah, and so I think somebody had commented saying as much as some of those ideas were a little ahead of their time, but at the time it was released, though, they're saying that VGA was out and 286 processor was out, but this was still based on like an 8088 processor. So what it had in some forward thinking, because it booted into ROM, so that whole graphical desktop environment was in ROM. It sounded like it had some plug and play features where it could tell you what peripherals were attached, things like that. So that was pretty cool. And it was obviously aimed at people who were intimidated by technology. So we need some training wheels for our system.
It was really late to the game. It was an XT-based machine, and it was manufactured from 89 to 91.
Huh. Wow. Yeah.
That's horrible. I mean, 89? That would have been in like the early the late 386 era.
And what is funny, though, they're sitting here talking about how graphical their system is, but one of their utilities is X-Tree, which is a text-based file editor, a file viewing system. So it's like
that's literally 2 years after Multiview got released.
Yeah, use our GUI to launch this TUI.
But there were still people pushing the PC back then.
Yeah, but it seems to me like it's one of those machines that's like, hey, if you are a Luddite or a neophyte and you're too scared to buy one of the newer PCs, we'll prepackage a PC that's really underpowered.
Ease of use.
Ease of use.
Yeah, and you can't afford a Mac because back then they were probably about $3,000 to $5,000.
Right.
Just need to come with some fine Corinthian leather.
Hey.
Yeah, so it is kind of like the AOL philosophy.
Correct.
Let's just make a big, shiny, fluffy, safe place for people to do things. Very cool. All right, well, we were getting ready to jump into the VCF stuff, but we also just been joined by Steve. Steve, are you pressed for time? Are you okay for us to do VCF?
I'm good. Let's stay on the original schedule.
All right, because I wasn't sure when you were jumping on, we were just going to proceed with VCF. And now that we have Jim Brain here, I would like Grant to be here too. So Grant will hopefully be joining us soon. So we won't get to the videos, but Grant, I got a bunch of videos from Grant's iPhone, there's a link now to a playlist which I'll just show you guys. I've posted a link to this in. And by the way, let's play some of. Let me see if I have the right button here. Yes. All right, so we're jumping into events right now. We're in the VCF Midwest 13 wrap-up show. And so there is a playlist. There's a YouTube playlist of some of the speaking presentations that took place at VCF. And I've posted a link to that in the description of this video. So if you want to see some of the talks that you missed, those are there. I've also posted a link to the VCF event. Basically, it's basically been an event that's been living in Facebook. It's not a group, it's not a page, it's just an event. But there's a lot of ongoing discussions in this event, and people have also been posting and sharing pictures in this event. I did take some of these pictures. You know who this Bob Kapla is? Anybody?
No.
Now, we can look at some of his pictures, but I figured since Jim is here, and Jim posted his little gallery here, you want us just to go through your gallery, Jim, and maybe you can just tell us what we're looking at?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily know all the machines. I just know that was all that was there.
Okay. So you're going to know better than us who weren't there.
That's true. This is an SX64, so I'm sure people have seen this first color portable computer. Commodore brand, yeah. The little thing that was down to the middle of it is probably the more important part. That's Leighty was there selling. Those are 3D printed miniature versions.
Yeah, that's cool.
We were picking those up, so I put one of those for size.
That's neat. Yeah, so this had a built-in color CRT, had a built-in floppy. Was this a bay for a second floppy or other peripheral, possibly?
Was you can go look online. I can't remember if it was rumored or it was officially announced, but this is the SX64, and a lot of people thought the S stand for single executive 64, and so there was a rumor of a dual executive or DX64, which had a second drive in there, and you can put the second drive in there, and put another put another floppy card in there. The unit is the entire 64 is reduced in height, the motherboard, so that it fits on the side next to the drive bays there, and then the floppy drive board sits in the back right in front of the big huge power supply and heatsink that's at the back of the unit.
Looks like this might have been European too. This looks like, is that the pound symbol right there on the keyboard?
No, all Commodores have the British symbol, right? Yeah.
The power supply wasn't up to running a second drive. You'd have to replace it. I have one.
So the pound symbols on all the international colors. So
gotcha. All right, so this looks like a C64 classic one, right? The kind of brownish.
Yeah, this was showing. So yeah, this is one of the C64 setups. So you've got a 1571 on the far left, and that's a CMD 3.5-inch drive above it. The C64 is in the front. The ubiquitous 1702 monitor and the 1541 drive on the right. What I was showing a picture of was the individual has written a GEOS program called Senor Paint. It's a guy by the name of Adrian Gonzalez. Obviously has a Hispanic background, so he has a program called Senor Paint. You can draw the stuff on the top, and then it's kind of maps into the final version of it on the bottom. So
for those who don't speak Spanish, that would be Mr. Paint.
That's right. Mr. Paint. Fair enough.
Thank you for the translation.
Yes, no problemo. Also here on the right, it looks like he's got some type of PS2 mouse adapter.
Yeah, there's some more pictures of that as we go forward, but yeah, he actually developed a PS2 mouse adapter for the Commodore.
Cool. And what's this little flash thing in the background here? Easy Flash.
Yeah, that's the Easy Flash C. So that's a product developed by Thomas. I'm probably gonna mess up his last name. Giesel, I believe is at least that's how you spell it. And it's an 8 meg 8 meg flash cartridge for the Commodore 64.
Okay. Here's a close-up of that adapter for the PS2 mouse. So is that a serial port it's plugging into? Or a joystick port?
That's the joystick port.
Gotcha.
Oh.
It's kind of clean.
There's also paddle and analog paddle inputs on that too.
Yeah, and it supports more than C64, so it's it'll do the Amiga and the C64. I don't know if it'll do the VIC-20 or not. I know there's a lot of different machines that have very similar mouse kind of capability, and so he's putting a lot of that support in there.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is for size comparison. Is a little mouse next to the 3D printed mock-up. This system also would support a secondary monitor too. I believe it had a composite out, so you could put a full-size monitor on top of that portable Commodore.
Correct. You can put it has that. It has serial out. It has the expansion port sits on top with a little bifold door. The only thing it doesn't have, and it has the user port, so you could plug, back in the day, that was where the modem would plug in. It's got all the ports that the C64 has, although it does not have a cassette port.
Okay.
Like that was a big loss.
Oh, what is this? An Atari portable?
Yeah, this is a Stacy 2. I didn't know Atari ST had a portable, and so somebody was there they'd found this at an estate sale, looking to sell it for about $500. It was the Stacy, said the Stacy and the Stacy 2. I'm not an Atari 16-bit or 32-bit aficionado, but I assume this is kind of one of the later ST models into a portable unit. That thing to the left is a aftermarket battery pack for it. So there's a big space in the Stacy 2 in the back for a battery pack, but at the time, evidently, the unit consumed so much power that they ultimately did not put a battery pack in it. But now somebody's made is using lithium ion or NiCad.
Okay.
I like the fact it has a trackball built into it too.
Yeah. And up the top, we were pointing it out. There's looks like a little recess in the top left corner of the top of the screen or top of the unit, and that thing that's sitting at the top there is kind of a button from looks of it. So not sure exactly what it did. We turned it on. The next pictures show it booted, but we didn't have a chance to do much with it.
Yeah, I wonder if that's ST or TT level.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you could look that up real quick.
There's two lights here, and there's one that says battery. Then you've got volume, brightness, and contrast. For this, was this like the monochrome LCD display, or was it color?
It is it was. I'd forgotten. It's a non-backlit.
Right. So like the old blue and white ones, like the early laptops. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool though. I never knew this existed. So that's pretty cool just to see.
Yep. Well, it went to a good home. I was there. One of the Atari guys picked it up.
That's very cool. Hey, Retro Innovations.
That's right. So I had on the far right was the CoCo 1 with CoCo Mim Jr., and then right next to it was a unit called the Cradle. And I'll show you pictures of it, so I don't want to give it away right now. And then right to the left of it was the CoCo 3, and I got some of the cards sitting behind there with the
your Mega Pack.
The 8-port expansion, and then right next to it, to the left, was a Commodore 64 with some stuff, and then right to the left, can't think. Jessica is sitting there trying to type in a program on it. That's a B128. I think I have another picture of it.
There's your daughter.
That's my daughter. She sold out of 4 pans of brownies and 64 cookies. So
wow. So she had a successful showing.
She had a very successful
profit in the family.
Yeah, really. We're trying to get her to do 5 or 6 pans of brownies next year. So we decided VCF Midwest 2018 was a 4-pan year, and so we're thinking 2019 will be a 5 or 6 pan year.
There you go. That's very cool. And who's this handsome gentleman here standing up? Do you know who that is?
I know him, but I don't know his name.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I just know the luminaries there, but I don't always know the name. That's a good shot mid-morning of the show.
Yeah, look at that.
So this does not include, there was 2 rooms of consignment that were about a third this size, and then there was another room which is a talking room, which was the same, this room, like if you think about it as depth and width, the talk room was the width of this, but it was probably only a third the depth.
Wow.
So yeah, there was a ton of people there.
Intellivision with a keyboard add-on. Huh?
I know this was, and I don't know what the official name for this thing was. You know, maybe if
was it Aquarius or something? I'm trying to remember.
No, this was never released. I mean, it was they put a couple units out and you know, tried to work out the bugs. That is a standard Intellivision unit in the middle there. You slid it in and it had a connector underneath it, and then they had a little ribbon cable, I guess, that connected to the cartridge port. But it was just an odd machine. I don't know. I didn't know that much about it. There was a guy there that was he's been working on writing an emulator for it. And so he was showing it off. It was an interesting odd duck, but it was definitely an odd duck. Had a nice keyboard though.
Yeah. I do remember hearing about or reading about that they were trying to make a computer peripheral for the Intellivision. So this might have been one of those prototypes. And I would imagine, so your cassette would be for loading in some software or saving software if it had a basic built into it or something.
Yeah, and it does work. I mean, it's functional. I think it's just, part of it was and it doesn't really show there. You know, it's hard to tell for scale, but I mean, it's massive and plastic. So if you were putting this in front of at the time in the 80s, you know, we'd have a big console TV in the front of the living room. You would have this thing sitting in front of it, and the kids would come in and they would just massacre it.
Just to give you an idea for scale, my head is pretty big, right? So if we were to look at this, is just an Intellivision. So imagine this wrapped in a big bezel and then times 2 for the keyboard. So this thing would have been way out here. You would have needed to have a really deep table to put that on in front of a TV or something. So yeah, that's a lot of depth there.
It was huge.
It's kind of shades of the old ColecoVision Atom.
We have a picture of here.
Yeah.
Somebody had one this year.
I just found some specs on it too. Apparently, it was going to be called Intelliputer if it ever came out. And it actually comes. Yeah, nice, eh? And it comes with its own 64K RAM, its own 6502 processor to handle I/O functions.
And they think that the nicknames for the TRS-80 called the Trash 80 were bad. You can imagine what those would have been.
What kind of computer you got? I got a Teleputer.
Yeah, and the code
it's
name
a bunch
was
of
Blue Whale.
Blue Whale.
Yeah,
that's funny. But it's neat when you see these things that were kind of like, this is kind of like a fully realized prototype that never made it to, you know.
That's right. That's right.
That is kind of cool.
So this is a Winchester, a dual Winchester drive for the Commodore PET line, and this thing is massive. And again, another massive item. So a PET is a huge machine. I'm looking at one. It's probably almost 2 feet deep, and that unit is deeper than the PET.
Like a PET is like the size of a Model 3, basically.
Yeah.
So
enormous thing.
And so this
would be like a 5 meg drive, or?
It was 22 meg, if I remember correctly.
No,
that's right. No. 22,000 blocks, and a block is 256 bytes. So
half that.
So divide that. Well,
Quarter to that.
Quarter that for the megs. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 meg. Yeah,
5 megabytes. Would that have been designed to be like a little cabinet or case that would be like a pedestal? You'd put your PET right on top of it, like it would just hold your computer and it would sit underneath it? Or?
I probably would sit next to it.
Okay.
It wasn't as wide as the PET.
Okay.
At least twice as wide.
Yeah, it'd be like the old Tandy primary drives with a little key in the front.
Wow.
It wasn't
pretty wide though.
I just had a flashback real quick too. When we were looking at that video of that Auto Magic drive, and you said it. I remember when I worked at a retail shop, we had these drives that were called a Bernoulli box, and it was like a cartridge-based hard drive where you had this receptacle in your hard drive, and you could snap one in and snap it out. And I think they were like 30 megabytes at the time, but you could basically have "quote unquote" unlimited storage by just popping in more and more hard drives in your system. And this kind of reminds me of that, but just a bigger version. For sale, make offer to Laura. What is that? That's a luggable?
That's a compact portable 3. So it's a plasma, like Thomas, whatever his name is, the guy that does Cherry Holmes. He was talking about the kind of amber plasma screens that play. This uses the very similar terminal. And then to the right of it was an IBM 5155 portable. So the 5155 went for $150, and I actually picked up the compact unit there. So if somebody's interested, it's got some screen problems. It needs a new screen, but I mean it works. But the screen's got some challenges.
These are neat little slices of history. Another floor shot.
Yep.
I recognize that ponytail there. Another Eric, right?
That's Eric.
Yep. He comes to CoCo Fest.
And Jim,
I recognize this guy here. He comes to CoCo Fest. Yeah.
That's Jim Mazurek.
Okay.
Yep. And if I looked at that on the higher resolution, I probably can pick out a half dozen more folks. The Tandy, Eric is right in front of where the Tandy group was.
Yeah. Okay. The Tandy cluster right there.
Yep.
Neat. Yeah, it's a neat floor. It looks like a great turnout. A lot of machines in there. Yeah.
Did they have electrical problems there, like we've had on occasion?
No, well, this is a different venue. This is Elk Grove Village, but no, they piped in a lot. You'll see later they had a VAX running there, so they had serious power. So, I mean, they did, I think, during the day have a little bit of problem in the far corner of the room, but generally speaking, they do pretty well distributing the load of all the machines. I mean, you can imagine all these PCs are pre EPA, cost savings, efficiency ratings and all that. So
yeah, they weren't green.
No, that's right. These are definitely not green.
So one thing that was missing from the show was a lot of Energy Star logos.
That's right.
There might be bromide in some of those things.
That's right. So this shot, it's a better shot of the cradle. So if you look at that machine, and I've not seen a picture, so I need to take a picture and put it online. But that machine that's second from the right, it's right next to the CoCo 1.
Oh, right here.
It is a, it's called the cradle. And what it is if you lift it up, I took the screws out. So if you lift it up, there's a Timex Sinclair ZX81 or TS1000 underneath there.
Okay.
And so basically this company made a 64K board with a joystick port or whatever and wrapped it in this case, and then you would plug that, you would basically mount your Simon Sinclair inside the box, and then you would use this keyboard. The unfortunate part is that keyboard that's with it is not that much better. It's like a calculator keyboard.
Okay.
But I mean, and it's better than the chiclet keyboard of the TS1000, but not by much.
Okay. There's Grant. Just took over the show.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was muted. I apologize.
Hey, what's going on, Grant? Nice picture there.
Yep. So.
That's cool. I think there is a close-up of this. If it's not in yours, it's in the other one, and we'll find it. Yeah.
And then there's a Tesla coil up on top. So.
Yeah, there's a couple of videos of that I'd like to show, too, of it playing the music and stuff. So that's cool.
I missed that.
All right, so here's a pet. For those who've not seen a pet before, it's got the built-in screen, and this whole top part lifts up like a car trunk hood.
Yep. That's right.
First computer I ever used.
Yeah.
So C64 next to it, and the one right next to it, that's Jim Happel's VR64. I think you guys maybe talked about it before. We mentioned it at CRX.
We mentioned it. Yeah, at CRX. Yeah.
Little stereo glasses, and then you can see on the screen there, he split the screen in half, and he's got two different versions on each side. So he was showing off his game there.
That's cool. I'm going to back up one time. Jim Gary was asking about this. I guess Jim must have just missed it. But yeah, Jim, this is the thing that wraps around the ZX Spectrum. What's it called again, Jim?
The cradle.
The cradle. It's called the cradle, Jim Gary. Yeah, very cool stuff. Okay. This is
FX, and then that's I don't know what that machine was. They're talking about it's got that really weird RX50 or whatever drive in front of it. I'll have to get some more information on that. And then there's a little Sharp PC in front of it.
Yeah, that's cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same one that Tandy rebranded as a PC2?
It looked like it. It really did.
It's got that same thermal printer interfacey thing on it. So
it really did look like it, and so I was thinking that's what it was, but I didn't have a PC2 there to look at it to see.
Look at this. This is something here. AM/FM tuner, TV, portable TV, or is this might not even be portable. This is probably AC power only, huh?
Yeah,
a little receiver with television.
Yep.
That's something else.
Looks like it comes with its own mini bar.
And what is this thing down here that's called Studio 2?
So this stuff was all, this is like ELF and Cosmac stuff. So it was a lot of, like, see the Altoids 10.
Oh, they've got these little dial, like these little paddle things here.
Yeah, they were running a little program, a little Pong program. You can see it up on the monitor, the studio
up
monitor.
here, yeah.
And so there was a lot of ELF 2K 2006 that was running Space War, and so there's a pretty good group. I don't know if they're based in Chicago or not, but they're CDP 1802 enthusiasts, and so this is some of their display.
Yeah, and these see some blinky lights down here. That's good.
Yep, that was a retro ELF designed to run slow and provide a complete display of CPU operations on the many LEDs that fill large panels.
That's cool. Then we got some type of circuit board here.
Yeah, this is a let's see, one of them was it's the next slide over shows the unit. This looks like it was in a PDP-8.
Okay, yeah, I can recognize all the lights and switches here. So yeah, this is the innards of one of those things.
It looks like it's got it's got some RAM. It's got an SD card. I'm looking here. It's got a
here's the SD card up here. Yeah,
an 8080. So it looks like a single board machine. Maybe it's not a PDP-8. Maybe it was just a single board computer. But anyway, it looks like a whole single board machine there.
Here's a good view of the Super Alpha. With the blinky lights and the switches. This is so Star Trek looking. You got the lights and the manual toggle switches to run a spaceship, you know?
Yeah, it was back in the Altair days.
There's another angle of the ELF thing. Yeah, that's cool looking stuff. This is definitely a candy store if you're into this kind of stuff here.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of it. This is some more of the there's some stuff here that's Cosmac ELF, and then I think this is a SWTP-C or whatever reproduction from Corsham that's on the right hand side, or it might be a Kim. I think actually it might be a Kim machine, but it's a trainer type machine. That's right hand side there.
The Cosmic ELF actually was Bill Noble's first computer he ever used.
So this is the VAX. It was running 4.3 BSD on the weekend.
Wow,
that is a 780 or what is that?
Yeah,
780. Yeah, VAX.
Yeah, that's what we used at the university.
Yeah, talk about a vintage computer.
Yeah, dim the lights in your house. You turn that sucker on.
Had some serious power they put together for it.
Wow. Now, where does this thing live when it's not on display?
It's a private.
Oh, it's a private collector, so it's not it's not part of the Federation's collection or anything like that.
I don't believe it is. I think it's
that's got to be a bitch to transport and get in.
Well, it was. I watched them picking it up. They got a like a U-Haul type truck with a gate, and they were rolling it over to the.
Were forklifts involved at all, or?
I don't know. It was pretty heavy though. I don't know. Maybe they unload part of it, so they lighten it up.
Wow. But that's a vintage computer.
There's another shot of it right after this.
Holy crap. Look at this thing. Look at those. These are all power supplies in the middle here?
I don't know.
Or maybe down here. I don't know.
It looks like they are, but
I can't remember. I did look on the inside of the one we had on the campus, but
it's a honker.
So long ago, I don't remember.
It's an H7100A, whatever that is.
What a honker. Wow.
Definitely huge.
All right, we got a little mixed bag of systems here. We got the Aquarius computer.
Yeah. Amiga, and you got an ST, and I don't know if that's one of the XE machines, the Atari.
Okay.
This was the Atari group.
Okay.
With a little bit of extra stuff on the left-hand side.
These items are for sale.
Yep.
Okay, very cool. This, I don't know what the hell that is. Is that an Atari?
That's an Atari, and the thing next to it's
okay, the XL or X, whatever. That's an MC10 right there with a that's the Ed Snyder expansion pack right there. Hey, Jim Gary, there's an MC10 here.
Right.
Eric was there. Eric, you had an MC10 on display, right?
Yeah, I did. I don't have the power supply for it yet, though, so it wasn't running.
Yeah, this looks like more Atari stuff here. Some cartridges, possibly some New Brew cartridges because of the colors here.
Yeah, this was, I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it's SCAT, the Atari group. This was their big multi
Sorry, crappy Atari technology. I'm saying sorry because it's a family show, because I can think of another word that starts with S and ends in Y.
Are those Commodore monitors there?
Yeah, the one on the left is a Commodore monitor.
Hey, have you guys watched Maniac yet on Netflix? Because that show is kind of wacky, and they have a whole bunch of different retro machines in it.
Maniac, it's called?
Yeah, and it has 2 or 3, maybe 4 different scenes where you see Commodore monitor in there.
I have to take a look for that. Okay, this is an Atom machine. I recognize this, the Coleco Atom.
Yep.
And so this has got the cassette tape. This is the main unit. This also got the ColecoVision built into it. The printer off to the side. This looks like a Commodore floppy drive, though.
Actually, no, it is an actual. I didn't even know they made it, but Coleco made a disk drive for the Atom, and this guy had one.
Now, what was this little thing to the right of the keyboard? Is that what you could like snap a joystick into to hold it and use your joystick as a mouse or input device or something?
Yeah, it looked to me like it was aftermarket, but yeah, it looks like those controllers would snap into it.
Okay, and then here's some Atom tapes. I don't know if these are originals or reproductions or new stuff.
They looked like they were originals.
Okay,
but I guess I didn't look at them that closely.
Gotcha. Now, do you know the guy in the background with the nice?
I talked to him for a little bit. I didn't know him. He's not. I mean, there's a core group of people that are part of the kind of the VCF ECCC group, and he wasn't. But I did talk with him. His son was there. I don't think I got a shot of, but both of them were there. And
I think his foot's down here. He's wearing a Nike sneaker. Just
he must have been. Yeah,
he must have squatted down just in time. So yeah.
Anyway, he had picked this unit up, and it was running, and it was cool. He said he bought it. I think he did have an Atom in the day, but I think he got rid of it. This was stuff and whatnot. But of course, this is a unit that, as everybody knows, the power supply for the entire unit is in the printer, and so no matter whether you wanted to bring the printer or not, you have to.
Right. Well, actually, there's now a third-party aftermarket power supply where you can get rid of the printers.
That's true, and he was telling me about that, and he said there was a big spot in the back of the ColecoVision that you could put it in, but for most people, that was at least back in the day. That was
and there was a problem too, where these things, if depending on how you had things placed, that they would actually erase the tapes, right? Yeah,
that's right. They did. And I forget what it was, but yes, there was definitely some concern on there. There was a power surge that would start to erase the tape.
So this is a close-up of that drive. It's an actual the ColecoVision family computer disk drive. Wow. Right. I mean, from a distance, it kind of looked like a Commodore drive. Just what I'm used to seeing them as
kind of like an Atari drive too.
Atari drive. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but this is an actual drive for the Atom.
I didn't know they had one. That's
I didn't
cool.
know that was either. Yeah. That's right. I took a picture of it. I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, these tapes look like originals, right? Super classic, super game pack. Yeah, so the Atom was an enhanced ColecoVision, because I think the ColecoVision only had 1K of RAM. I think it had 32K of ROM, but only had 1K of RAM. So all the ColecoVision games really had to be crammed, whereas the Atom, I think, had 32K of RAM. So the games made for the Atom were all considered super this and super that. They actually had a version of Dragon Slayer for the Atom, but it was done in sprites. It wasn't, full screen video or anything.
Actually had 80K of RAM.
Oh, was it 80? Okay, I knew it was significantly more than the ColecoVision.
And they did re-released enhanced titles like Super Donkey Kong and Super Zaxxon and stuff.
Yeah, with more RAM. But like their Super Donkey Kong had all 4 levels and the cutscenes and animations and all that kind of stuff, intermissions. Cool, very cool.
I'd like to say color computer at this point.
Well, they're there. CoCo's. I don't know if Jim got pictures of CoCo stuff, but the CoCo was represented. And we'll hear from Grant. Grant's got some videos. Greg, you still on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I wasn't going to show your video until you got here, so I got all your videos ready to play.
All right, cool.
Is this a terminal, Jim?
This is a full HP 3000 system. So it's a Series 37 system. That's an HP. I believe that's an HP terminal, and there's an HP.
Okay, so is that mini computer or mainframe?
Yeah, it is. It's a mini. We had one of those that worked too, and actually that box underneath the printer, if I remember correctly, that would be the HP 3000 case itself.
It probably is.
Wow.
Some of these, I don't know a ton about them, but I wanted to walk around and make sure I got pictures and everything.
It's dead, Jim.
They also had big external hard drives about that same size with the removable platters you unscrewed to switch disk blocks.
Really? Wow. Now this is an interesting unit. I'm not familiar with it, but it looks kind of like a game console with a keyboard and a couple of sticks on it.
This is called a video brain machine. So,
Is it named after you then, or what?
Yeah, cute. I don't know. It was one of the maybe like the later or not as successful 2600 type machines, and then the other one's an Exidy Sorcerer.
Exidy, like the video game company?
I don't know if it's the same company or not, but it's spelled the same, EXIDY.
Yeah.
If I remember, both these came out before the 2600. They came out in '76, didn't they?
Oh, I don't know. I can look them up.
I seem to remember actually seeing mentions of those.
Definitely more niche. Of course, you got
There was a different Exidy machine that was based on a game system, and Radio Shack used to have a competitor called Lafayette Electronics. And where I lived in Brooklyn, there was one across the street from where the Radio Shack was, and they had the Exidy game system with the keyboard on it on display, and it was playing a game that was an arcade game that was ported to the small system. So I'm pretty sure they were the same company as the Exidy.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. These things here look like glorified calculators.
They do, and I think they are. They're both HP.
Okay.
But I don't know how much power.
So this is a calculator with a big ass receipt printer built into it, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then,
Does it have an arm on the side?
Oh, like a slot machine?
Yeah. Cha-ching.
Is this like close-ups of inside of chips and stuff?
Yeah, there's a couple dies. I didn't recognize the parts. 2508 and a 2622. I didn't understand that particular significance. But
that's neat. Hewlett-Packard 9825A calculator quick reference guide.
That was that unit we saw.
Yeah, when a calculator needs a manual, you're in trouble.
Full ASCII keyboard.
Yeah. There's 9 numbers. We got 9 numbers. We got plus, minus, divide. What do we need a book for? Here we got an oscilloscope.
Now this was interesting. I don't remember exactly. I played this, but this machine is a computer, and it's a Skelby 88 or Skelby. I think that's the number of it. Anyway,
and uses 8008.
Yeah. So, but this unit, the output for the unit is that oscilloscope. So if you look at that oscilloscope, you can see it's got stuff written on it, and so that was video output was the oscilloscope. So it was a vector-based machine.
Okay.
Or vector output. So that's why it's got all these cords and whatnot, because he was getting it, piping it into an oscilloscope. And then, but now for the input, it did use a keyboard, and I think it used an ASCII keyboard, and so he had that HP PS2 based keyboard there to kind of convert. That little converter back there, you can see it's hiding there underneath that mess of wires. There's a little converter to convert PS2 to ASCII or whatever.
I mean, when you look at a picture like this, I mean, anybody outside of our realm of insanity would already think that we're dealing with outdated technology playing on a CoCo or a Commodore. But at least that's kind of a self-contained system. The keyboard's built in. There's very few wires. When you look at something like this, even to somebody as crazy as me, I'm like, man, that's some really old, crazy crap right there. You know, it's like, this is crazy to the crazy guy, because this is...
It should be right next to the VAX.
Yeah, you know? It's just like, man, this is some old tech, but it's super cool.
It was super cool.
Yeah.
This is an Apple One. I was surprised it even was there. The guy was he'd had it on the table, and I'm thinking, I don't know how many thousands.
Yeah, like those are worth a lot, especially a working one.
It could be a replica. It could be a replica.
No, I think he was talking like it was the real thing, and it looks like it. If you look at the
it looks old.
Looks pretty dirty and dusty and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and I like how everything's in plexiglass. The power supply is separate case from the keyboard and the system board.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool way to just like the old visible engine things, you know, where you could see the pistons turning and stuff.
Because if that's a working Apple One, the original board, that's probably worth in the 6-figure range, isn't it?
That's right. I the only thing I can think is that it you know, sometimes those are like how much they've been modified and whatnot. The less they've been modified or the less they've been fixed, the more expensive they are. Maybe this one's got some bodge wires or something on the bottom that makes it a little less desirable. But yeah,
several people make clones of the board, And a lot of people held them up with chips. They tried to get chips from the correct time period.
Yeah.
So that it looks like an original, but it's really not.
This one does look like an original. What were you going to say, Mark?
I was just going to say that the last one I saw, there was one on eBay that somebody had done some surgery on. It still went for $66,000.
Yeah, so I mean, I could definitely see this being a $60,000 to $100,000 unit. So, but anyway, he said he was going to take it, and he was going to take it back to his room at night.
Oh yeah. Don't leave it on the floor.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
You could exchange it for a house almost.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you could.
This is like line printer artwork or something.
This is printing out so this is an HP 7550A 24 you call it 24 by 17 or 24 by 14 or whatever printer.
It's a color plotter style?
It's a color plotter. It uses those pins that you see over on the right hand side. I used to have one of these.
Rotary. Yeah, rotary.
It's a rotary
carousel.
Canister like that. He took the top of it because he wanted these special pins you could buy overseas, and those little orange things are 3D printed holders for the pins. They're like Japanese pins. They're really
okay.
And so 0.26 millimeter or 0.026 millimeter tips or whatever, and so it was printing out 6502 die shot, or the actual die itself. The one behind it was looking at one was looking to look like it was done, and the one.
Okay, yeah, that looks like the whole schematic of a processor or a circuit or something.
That's right, and he said it takes 4 hours to print them.
Wow, that's something. Here we got a nice analog phone collection going on here.
So they had a you could pick up these phones and dial numbers and whatnot because they had a PBX. They had a kind of a fake PBX set up at the show.
Okay.
So a lot of people were trying to get. So I think they're going to do it again next year. A lot of people were caught a little bit unaware that it was going to be there, but a lot of folks tried to bring their modems and then dial each other and have BBSs running at the show.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Apple IIc, I'm taking here on the side here.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to get this type of case and holder monitor doohickey. I need to find one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those cases, but I don't have the rod that holds the monitor to it. So I discovered at this show how I can repair it. Apparently, it's just a rod with 2 bolts on the end.
Okay. We've got the Kermit and the Mickey Mouse ones. My father-in-law, my wife's dad, worked for what used to be called Southern Bell before it became Bell South and AT&T. So he was a phone guy forever, and so he had a bunch of old phones that he collected. So we've got a bunch of not only phones like these, but we've got phones as old as this. We've got some of the old phones that had like the separate receiver you had to hold to your ear and you talked into a mouthpiece. So we've got some really, really old vintage phones that, yeah. So it's kind of cool.
You have the ones with the turn thing for the long ring, short ring stuff too?
I don't know. I've got a bunch of them. There you go. This should make Mark Overholzer happy.
Yeah, Apple II.
It's an early Apple II.
And those disk drives don't melt under the heat, so
Steel cases.
Yeah, it's one good thing about Apple. They engineered good quality hardware.
Mm-hmm.
They were pretty durable.
Yeah. And an AT&T. Yeah.
I think this is a 3B2. So it's a 3B2 310. So this was a Unix type workstation.
Okay. Yeah, because AT&T had some PC clones too. So I wasn't sure if this was a.
Yeah. No, this is their older Unix workstation line.
Okay, that's neat.
Yep.
And that was a Commodore 128D right next to it to the left.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, right there.
Oh yeah, Michael Brandt just got one of these. He just drove to meet somebody and got one.
Yep.
Traded some CoCo stuff for it.
Yep.
This is a picture of that IntelliPuter.
Teleputer, huh?
On the right hand side, you can see the program that you can do all this stuff, and then on the left hand side, that's the emulator the guy was writing.
Okay. These character sets look a lot better than what you get in the games, because the games, the fonts were so big. The fonts were like huge, big block fonts, like what you'd see like in a CoCo semi-graphic screen.
Mm-hmm.
That's actual good. It's a good character generator there.
Yeah.
Another angle of it there. He's got a Radio Shack shirt. That's cool.
I know.
Yeah. Very cool. Is this Eric? Is this your Laserdisc player?
Yep, that's my Sylvania. It's a VP 7200 top loader.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's the remote for it, huh?
the remote.
Look at that thing. Just don't drop it on your foot if you want to be able to walk, right? So
that might hold the door open better than an MC-10.
Huge.
Is this a VHS, top-loading VHS?
That's a Betamax, yeah.
Betamax, holy crap.
A friend of mine, Ted, had one of these, and the camera that went with it.
Too small for Betamax. It's Betamax 2. The Betamax ones are larger than VHS.
There's Jim's daughter.
Yeah, she's holding the remote for the Betamax.
Oh, wow. That was a wired remote.
A wired remote. I have never seen a wired remote.
Yeah.
You can see some of the CoCo stuff in the background there.
Yeah. Laserdisc was kind of like the analog predecessor to DVD. You know, we're getting there, but it was the size of an LP, so it was a 12-inch disc, and you had to flip sides. You only get like a half a movie on each side. Sometimes you needed 2 discs in both sides to get a whole feature if it was too long. Crazy stuff.
So now you guys should. Oh yeah, there's picture of Laserdisc.
Yeah.
The original non-enhanced.
Non-enhanced, but is this 4x3? Is this
This copy was,
This was.
Yeah, I have copies on widescreen as well.
Oh, excellent.
But he wasn't selling those. Did anybody ever buy it, or did anybody buy it here?
Yep. There was a person who bought it to frame it and put it on the wall.
Neat. I had for a little while. I had a Laserdisc player. They were on their way out too, so I got one on clearance, and I had a handful. And again, you could at that point you can go to like the record stores in the malls and get the movies for like $5 a piece, all on clearance too. But when I was, before DVDs, when I was into collecting VHS movies, this was the only way to get some of these things in widescreen. And I still have it somewhere, but I've got Terminator 2, the extended edition where you've got the other scenes and stuff like that. So it was, again, all before DVD came out. So to have the fact that you had a fairly good picture and sound, widescreen format, if you were like a movie purist, that was kind of the way to go for a slice of time. They were neat little machines. Laser disc players. Look at that. That's something else. The old artwork and everything. CBS Fox. That is neat. This item is for sale. This is the Commodore system?
No, actually, so what was for sale is the little red board up in the top. And you guys, it's relevant for this group. So David Wood is the guy's name. He goes by the handle J. Beverin. And so he's selling this 6809. It's kind of a derivative.
Oh, we got pictures of those in Discord.
Yeah. So he's selling the boards, and he's put his software online on GitHub, and so he was showing off the show.
Oh, neat. There it is.
Yep.
This is the 6803, right? The Hitachi processor?
No, this is 6809.
I thought it was.
The 63C09. He has a 63C09.
63. So this is the 6309.
Yeah, sorry,
6309. Okay.
6809 based machine.
Yeah, neat. And this is his own design he came up with?
I think he started with, I think, Grant Searle's 6-chip version, and then kind of went from there. It's got a dual UART on it, 68681 UART, and looks like it's got 512K of RAM, and it's got a 8K monitor, ROM.
And where's the display output from this thing here? Is that this little pin connection here?
It's serial based.
So you'd have to connect it to a terminal?
Yeah, terminal.
Is this like a micro SD?
Yes, it is.
Okay, this is USB power I'm taking right there?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, micro SD. Neat. So that's drives a terminal, huh? What the hell we're looking at here? That's just another angle of it on a screen. Okay. TRS-80. There we go.
I think
Model
that's
1, Model 3.
Yeah, and I don't know. This black board on the, I should have got a better shot of that. It said it was the, I'm going to see if I can look at the bigger picture. Maybe it's a new rev of the Mies board or whatever.
Okay.
Whatever that board is that Peter Bartlett.
Peter Bartlett, yeah.
I think it might be a newer version of that board, kind of more self-contained. Got the SD card, and I think that thing on the back is the FPGA, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
So
These items are for sale. This is a huge beast of a system, whatever
Yeah,
the
and
hell that is.
I think this was a another type like HP type machine. But anyway, this is I think this is all kind of Malcolm stuff. So Malcolm was there. He went, and some of you know him. He's got some CoCo and Tandy stuff and whatnot. But he went somewhere and picked up a whole bunch of Tandy 2000s, and this stuff came along for the ride. So he brought it.
Okay.
So,
All right, this is a closer up picture of your.
Before you go ahead, going back to that Model 1. The blackboard is his expansion interface replacement.
Ah, okay.
And then the board to the left of it is the MISE.
Okay.
Model 1 system expander.
Good to know.
Okay.
So he developed his own expansion interface replacement.
Got it. There you go.
And there you go. And this is a more close-up of your cradle picture.
Yeah,
there were a lot of different companies that made boxes like the Cradle. At Zebra, when I was developing the SCO1 voice synthesizer for the Timex 1000, I had a Timex 1000 in a similar box, but it had a regular keyboard on it. And you can see it in the YouTube video on Zebra on TV.
That's right.
And that made life a lot easier programming the Timex 1000 ZX81, because otherwise I would have killed myself typing in the software.
Here's some retro innovation products here. So we've got a CoCo Mem and a CoCo 3.
Yep. So these pictures, go ahead.
Is this the 2 meg or the 8 meg version of that?
It's actually got 4 meg on it right at the
4
moment.
meg, okay. Sorry. Didn't mean to insult you.
These pictures they're restatements of the older pictures, but I didn't take them. So what was going on is Eric, the guy with the long hair that you showed in the other picture.
Yeah.
He was going around to everybody, all the booths at the show, and he was taking pictures of their booth with this Sony, I think it's called a Mavica camera. It was the one that used a 1.4 megabyte 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those cameras?
Yep.
Huge
Oh, yeah.
camera, like whatever, it was like 8 or 9 inches square and about 4 inches thick or whatever. And so these are, you can't tell on Facebook, but these are much grainier pictures. And he was just taking pictures of the booth. And then we got done, he'd pop out the disc and he'd give it to whoever was at the booth.
Ah, that's neat.
Yeah. So I don't know that there's things that we haven't seen. The next picture is probably the last one that's interesting.
Okay, so this is your CoCo link. This has got a couple of serial ports on it.
4-port, yeah, that's a 4-port link, 4-port RS-232, and then next to it's the dual CPU.
Dual CPU.
Port. Yep, and then the 8-port MPI.
8-port expander. Yeah, John. I was talked to John Strong recently. He did mention he had been working on some cases. Have you seen a case for it?
Yeah, I have. Unfortunately, this picture doesn't show it. It's just to the top right where those ribbon cables.
Okay.
I think I got a picture somewhere else, but I haven't put it online yet. But yeah, he was able to finish up a 3D printed case for me.
Neat.
Yep.
That looks good. Good looking stuff there. And what the hell is this Commodore system?
That's the Commodore B128. And so everybody that came up to this machine said, "Oh, it looks really nice." And I said, and that is unfortunately the only nice thing you can say about it.
I don't even think it looks nice, honestly, but I'm glad somebody does. It looks weird. Okay.
I know it is. It's what they call the Porsche Pet type cases. They were all rounded and whatnot. So that sort of thing, and that was cool. But yeah, it was a business machine, 80-column monochrome, I think.
Wow.
And, but it had a SID chip, so I don't know what businesses would want monochrome text, but a fancy sound generator. But
now, anybody who's bitching about the CoCo 3 arrow key placements, look at this fluster cluck up here. Imagine playing your video games with your fingers up there on the top of your keyboard. Wow.
We commented about that at the show too. The 128 has the same thing.
What a kludge.
I know Bill Hurd may see this show at some point, but they laid out the 128 because they liked the VT320 keyboard, and they had those extra 4 positions at the top of the keyboard. I think there used to be function keys up there. So they stuck on the Commodore, they put the keys up there, and that's the same kind of thing. It's just not very, very good placement.
Are these retro innovation products there?
Yeah, this is just some of the stuff. I was there. CoCo Flash is there and some other stuff. But like I said, nothing, I think pretty much done with the picks. But
your Tesla coil.
Yeah, it was a big draw. Sorry, Grant, you didn't get to see it, but it was fun.
We got some videos in the VCF group. All right, so I think we just went 360 now. We just went around.
Yep.
Very, very cool. All right, we have some video to show from Grant too, but I think before we do that, we'll take a quick break. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for taking all these pictures and for sharing it. You gonna be able to hang out with us for a little while?
Just a little while, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna run another commercial break, and then we'll come back. And Greg, you're on deck we're gonna play some of your video. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. See you guys in a few. Welcome to VCF Talk, and we'll be back in a little bit.
Hello, I'm David Ladd. Thank you for watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading live CoCoTALK show.
Hey, this is Bruce Moore, author of Force of Doom, and you're watching the original gamer, Stevie Stroke.
Only the bravest souls enter. Only the most cunning return. Defeat innumerable monsters to ransom the king's scepter, stolen by the evil wizard. Your sword, shield, and wits are your only allies. Pray you find a magical inn as your only respite in the forest of doom.
For the tiny color computer 1, 2, and 3.
November 2017, if you dare.
My fellow Americans, Australians, Canadians, Europeans, and all of you ands, I'm calling on all y'all to help us make the world great again by visiting the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com, where you can get yourself a coffee mug like this with a little cute cartoon character that says, I'm a Coco Nut. You could also get yourself a coffee mug like this with a Color Computer 3 that says, I'm a Coco Nut. You could get yourself a deluxe travel mug like this with the CoCoTALK logo on it. You might even be able to get yourself a DVD like this with over 2 hours of gameplay goodness. It is time for us to rise up and make the world great again by enjoying some quality retro merchandise and CoCo nostalgia. So please visit 8bit256.com and let's make the world great for the color computer. Thank you very much.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
Oh, I remember that Christmas. Dad gave me my first shortwave radio from Radio Shack. What memories. This Christmas, we got our son's Color Computer 3 from Radio Shack. It hooks right up to our TV and was on sale for less than $130. The Color Computer 3 makes learning fun. Jimmy even lets me use it for word process when he isn't playing computer games. Lucky I still got my shortwave.
Save $70 on the sale-priced Color Computer 3, only at Radio Shack.
All right, we're back with more events, and let's hear a little musical clip here from Curtis Boyle. All right, straight from the iPhone of Grant Leighty, we've got some video recorded from VCF Midwest last weekend. We're going to save the best for last, so I renamed one of them that's called David's Surprise. And I had to rotate it because for whatever reason it was coming out tall and it was supposed to be wide. So I rotated it and we saved that one for last. So I'm going to pull these up in, I guess, sequential order as they're numbered here, Grant. And if you want to just let us know what we're looking at, if necessary, if not, if the video explains itself. Listen, David.
Is David complaining already?
Hold on a second. Where the hell did my video go? Hold on one second. I can't find it. Hold on one second. We're going to start over. This one looks like a short one anyway, so that's what she said. But the view from the floor. A lot of this looks like what we saw in Jim's slideshow.
Yeah, these were all taken on Sunday morning. So.
Sunday morning. Okay, so early on the second day, and it's already this busy.
Do we know what the attendance numbers were like?
I'm sorry, Curtis, what did you say?
I said, do we know what the attendance numbers were like?
I have no idea if they announced those. Do you know?
I don't know that Jason keeps very much tabs on it. It's basically a free-for-all, but I can see he might be on the line.
All right, so that was the first one. It's a view from the floor from Sunday. There's the pet.
It's a
Shitload
great
of
show.
calculators.
I had a great time.
Yeah. Spit ton of calculators there. I'm going to lower the volume just a little bit so I can hear you better, Grant. Sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely a great show to go to. I mean, if you want to pick one show to go to a year and you have limited funds, it's definitely this show here because you get a taste of everything.
Yeah. We just reached 34 viewers right now, so thank you guys all for watching us who are watching live right now. And there's CoCo 3.
There's your case there, right there, if you see it on your left of that TV.
My
Jim's.
case. Oh, what? Oh, this is Jim's 3D printed case for the 8-port expansion board.
Yes, is that right, Jim?
It is. It is. It blends into the white tablecloth.
Yeah. Okay. See it. Here's the cradle. A little bit. Yeah.
And you got 2 cartridges plugged in the side there.
Oh, yeah.
Like too.
Yep.
Nick Marota's here. Everybody say hi to Nick Marota.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Nick. Okay. So
Nick
here's
Marota.
this video has got a slightly better view of the cradle system here, right? So this is basically a exoskeleton for the ZX80, huh? Or 81.
Right.
That's cool. CoCo 3 with CoCo Mem, 4 megabyte board.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an expander for a Commodore.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and just to let you know, by the way, David is now a Commodore man. He has definitely gone to the dark side.
Oh, yeah?
He purchased everything Commodore from Jim Breen, I think.
Wow.
That Sid chip envy.
One thing I would say, though, the Commodore community definitely has a lot of excitement. They have a lot of things definitely going on right now. This was cool, too, the that little gray thing. That's that barcode reader for that magazine.
Ah.
Is that like a Cousin strip reader?
I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
let me just ask you this, though. Does the Commodore community have not one but 2 podcasts and a weekly live show?
They don't have any, I don't think.
That's true.
They've got to have podcasts. There's got to be at least one Commodore podcast, right?
Most of them are game related, though. They do. But
Okay.
a lot of them are just talking about.
I know the Amiga does, right? Amiga's got at least a podcast or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the real question is how many video cables do they have with a toggle switch?
Hey, Kyle Edders just joined us. Hey, Kyle, how are you? Jim, I forgot, but what is your daughter's name?
Belinda.
Belinda. Lovely girl.
And she definitely makes a mean brownie.
Brownies. Yeah.
That brings a question up. Are there going to be brownies at Tandy Assembly?
I don't know. My wife said I shouldn't ask her right after we were coming over the show because it takes a lot out of her to finish the show if she's still recovering, trying to get her homework caught up and whatnot. So I got to wait a few weeks to see if she wants to come and do it there.
Dave Phillipson just joined us now, too. Hey, Dave. Oh, look at that. Bomb threat. This must be the Neil Blanchard table, huh?
Yep, this is.
Okay. Hi, I'm for sale. You mentioned you got some software from Neil, right, Grant?
Yeah. I got the Where in the World is Carmen San Diego. I got it sealed in brand new in a box.
Nice. Look at this. These are all nice cartridges, right? So you got Flood It and Bomb Threat on cartridge in the multi-pack. That's cool.
Yeah, Rick Adams definitely got a lot of representation because almost all the CoCos had Bomb Threat in them.
Yeah, very cool. I know it's kind of blurry there, but here, so we see Flood It and Bomb Threat. And then there's Plateau of the Past. I got one of those. That's cool. Flood It, Bomb Threat. 25 and 20. Not bad. Tom C. just joined us. Hey, there's Neil Blanchard. There he is himself, Neil Brookins. All right. All right, there's Neil. All right. Good video here, Grant. Okay. This looks like a similar angle that we saw from before, but yeah, see, that's the compact system and the these are the luggables, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Neat.
5155 IBM.
Yeah, I believe this is the one of two of the complete walk around of the vest. So.
Okay, so this one might take a little while. Get out your popcorn. Complete walk around. There you go. Space Invaders going on.
That was the Commodore 64 Mini back there a little bit.
Oh yeah.
They're going to be available at Walmart in the beginning of October for $80.
Ah, neat. Where's the Tandy sensation? Is what Mikey wants to know. Did Neil have it? Did Neil bring it? Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Okay, so maybe we'll see that. Hold your horse there, Mikey. We'll get your sensation. In the meantime, I got your sensation right here.
Hey Jim, how did this show compare to previous years? Was this bigger, smaller?
I think it was slightly, larger in attendance than, but it had about the same exhibits. So they're kind of constrained. When they've packed the exhibits for the last few years, the exhibit thing was pretty much full.
Yeah, because I was registered and I was getting the emails and I was also following the Facebook events. Yeah, there was also some hotel booking issues because were there weddings or something else going on there too. So there was some room shortages.
Yep. Normally we don't have that problem. This was the first year I think I've heard that there was problems with room booking.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We could have seen a lot more too if he had turned his phone sideways. But anyway, what do you want from him?
It's an Apple, we expect.
I think it's more the operator myself. But
yeah.
I thought you could turn an Apple sideways.
Should be able to.
Well, you can. I uploaded a video to the channel that has it in the
there's the Vax
other mode.
Coming up in just a few minutes in the Village Room, Jack Rubin will be leading the...
Coming up to the main stage, Cinnamon for the first of 3 dances.
Yeah, that's one nice thing they did compared to CoCo Fest, that their presentation room is strictly nothing but a presentation. So.
You mean there's no auction going on and Richard Lorbieski trying to solder during the auction or anything
exactly.
like that?
And just to let you know, that auction went on for 4 hours.
Yeah. I mean, if you add up both days at CoCo Fest, you probably got more than 4 hours. But they only did the auction on one day. They didn't do the auction both days.
I don't think they did it on a second day.
So they got to move all the stuff out. Yeah, Nick Marotta says, "Say no to portrait mode." These are neat. It's like pixel art.
Oh yeah, that was
sculptures.
That was Michael Gladson. He did those. I forget what they're called. Something beads.
Yeah. My kids do that kind of stuff.
Hey, look, there's your laptop, Steve.
Yeah.
That was the Commodore system back there that was only sold in Japan.
Super NES. Old school typewriters.
Yeah.
That's a big draw. I've been to several typewriter conventions.
I didn't know that Commodore made so much stuff.
Oh, shit. Look at all
They
that
started
stuff.
in the 1950s. They have a long history.
Wow. Calculators. Wow.
Yeah, that's why they're called Commodore business machines. That was before the computers.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Talk about your vintage stuff there, huh? Look at that one. That one had the thing you had to pull on, like the slot machine handle, like cranking it out.
Here comes your keyboards.
There's the keyboard. Yeah, oh, that's neat. Batman mouse padder, but Spider-Man mouse pad. There you go, representing Marvel and DC. 6809, 40th anniversary. Commodore Amiga 500 box. That's cool. Did they ever make an Amiga that was more like in a PC chassis that you could do expansion cards to and things like that?
Yep, they did.
Yep.
There's Bomb Threat.
Later,
There's
3000, 4000 of the T.
There's John Mark Mobley. Was that my Apple there on display, Grant, or somebody else's?
Someone else's.
Okay. There's Bomb Threat being played. Oh, spit ton of expansion cards here, huh? You can add hundreds of megabytes to your 40-year-old system with these things. Oh, there's the laser disc of Star Wars. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's Eric's display.
Yeah. That's neat. I'm ready to go with you. There's no reason for me to stay here now. My uncle's smoldering. Look at that. MSX systems. Cool. I got one that I haven't played with yet, but I'm dying to play with my MSX one of these days. Thanks to Michael Brandt. Sega Joypad. Flip-flops.
Here's your sensation.
There is the sensation. The multimedia PC.
Hey, David, take this and put this in the car, would you?
There's David Ladd. And there's Neil Brookins. It's scruffy face David.
Yeah, I couldn't get him to shave once on this trip.
Yeah. John Mark Mobley. You gotta love the multicolored keys on a keyboard. That's something.
That's from the 70s.
One red
a lot
key.
of them did that.
What's this red button do?
I think more than one red key is just overdoing it. I think CoCo got it right.
What is that? Hold on a second. This looks like a freaking Twister game or some crap right here. What the hell was that pad with those circular numbers on it?
I believe that was something for the dancing with the Nintendo, I believe is what it was.
Yeah. It looks like a damn Twister freaking thing.
It's the Nintendo. I think they call it the trackpad or something. It's a pad you stand on, like Revolution. But before they came up with Dance Dance Revolution, they had running and.
I mean the power pad.
Yeah, the power pad. Yeah.
Wow.
You could run on it.
And it had like pressure sensors on there, so it knew when you were doing something.
It's exactly like a DDR mat. They just didn't have DDR.
Yeah, or you could just hit it with your hands.
Yeah.
Right foot blue, left foot yellow. Bomb threat and flood it. Yeah, that's cool. It's good to see some of the CoCo cartridges represented. There's Neil's BBS there. Internal Affairs. There's John Mark Mobley. How was the Wi-Fi there?
Wi-Fi was excellent.
Yeah. What is Internal Affairs? There's his BBS, so he's got little cards for his BBS. That's cool. Retron 5. That's a cool little console. Man, so much stuff.
That was Neil's table, I think, right?
So there was a lot of CoCo representation here, which is good to see. There's some CoCo floppy drives, or TRS-80 floppy drives anyways, right?
Yeah, and there was a lot of stuff for sale, too, for the TND and the CoCo. In fact, I think I will be going into the other room here in a second.
And so when people wanted to sell something, sometimes if they had an exhibitor table, they had a little sticker saying this is for sale, but there was a whole different area where people could sell things, right? Like a consignment room where you just left things for people to oogle over?
Correct. There are two rooms, and I think I go into those rooms here, either in this video or the next video, where it's just a lot of stuff for sale. Anywhere from old computers to cables to old cartridges, games, and software still in packages. Hey, Jim, do you remember seeing the airline computers they had there?
Yep, they had 747 computer systems. They were these big, long boxes about 3 inches wide and about 5 inches tall and about like 19 inches deep. They were in that room to the left. The consignment room. The one consignment room was completely full, and the other consignment room was sort of...
that was like the At Games Atari system we just saw there a second ago. Yeah, this might be one of the newer ones. Like that's the Gold. Is the Atari Gold that's got the HDMI out and everything?
It was an 8, a version 8.
Okay.
Flashback 8. I lost track after about 3 or 4 of the revisions.
Okay, and then this is blue. This is the reproduction new mold cases for the Commodore.
That's right. New mold case, existing unit. Actually,
I like that color.
Yeah, that unit was a 64, but then there was one just to the right of it that's it's a Raspberry Pi or whatever, I think, in the case.
Correct.
Let's see that again. Okay. And it looks like somebody playing Doom. Here's the goodies.
Yep.
Almost to the end of this one. Okay, Davey Mitchell's got to go. Good night. Take care, Davey. Yeah. And this was when? This was all Sunday morning, Grant?
Correct.
Yeah, and there's that much activity out there. We got
Yeah, I would say this is probably between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Which is actually a really bad time to go check, because most of the folks stay up till like 2 or 3 in the morning on Saturday or Sunday morning, and then they don't get down to man their booth until like noon. It's the 3B2.
Neat. A lot of cool systems here.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jim, would you say the Midwest Festival is probably the best one in the nation?
Oh, I don't know. That gets you into fighting territory, but I mean, I do know that for a lot of folks that are around, at least reasonably close to the Chicago area, it's a really good show to go to, and you can get a lot of different platforms.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Look at that Mac system.
Yeah, there you go. That's Elisa.
Oh, wow.
How's the one in Atlanta, Georgia, compare?
The Georgia is it's a newer unit. I think this was their 5th year of running it, and so they have more microcomputers and more. So the key is that you're going to see more Commodore line in the VCF Midwest. I think you're going to see more Atari at the Southeast show. It seems like a lot of the Atari folks are based out of the Southeast area. And then you're going to see more mini computers in the East show. I don't know about the Pacific Northwest and the West show, but each one has kind of a hub for certain platforms.
Wow, that's a big ass expansion box there.
So if a guy was going to go to another VCF, what would be the show you recommend after this one?
I don't know. I think if you're into micros, then probably the Southeast show is a little bit better. I think if you want to, if the backs really tripped your trigger, then you definitely would want to see the East show, because that's where they have a lot of the bigger units. Typically they'll have a 11, and they'll have a couple 8s running, PDP 8s, and sometimes they have a VAX, and then they usually have something like an HP Apollo and those kinds of machines. They typically have those at VCF East. So it just depends on what you're, if you're looking for different kinds of machines, you can go to different shows to see it.
Yeah. Hey, what can you tell me about the Atari XL line? Is that basically cost reduction type stuff?
I'm not a guru on that, but
fair enough.
I thought the XL was the, kind of the premium line, and the XE line was their cost reduced line.
MC10.
Close up.
MC10, Jim Gary.
I think the Atari XL was basically the XE in a case that looked like the Atari ST.
Oh, okay.
They just wanted to unify the line. Like Commodore with the 128, tried to make it look more like the Amiga 500.
Right.
I hear Sid music playing in the background ever so lightly. Yeah. Pac-Man. Atari Basic inside.
That's a Mega ST. That's a Mega Atari ST. With the hard drive units mounted under it.
Atari, look at that. Promotional use, not for sale. That's a cool box to have. A promotional Atari.
Mm-hmm.
MSX, yeah. That was a Model 100 portable.
Yeah, it was.
This is a nice flippy switchy.
Yeah, I can't think of the guy's name. Oh man, he's been posting all day trying to get his Fortran program to run. Kyle Owen. That's his P2P8.
Hey, Rick would be like to see that one.
Yeah, well, actually, he did see that. Thank goodness during the.
When you guys were doing the live stream on Zoom, yeah.
Kyle's really, part of it is when we have machines like that, like the PDP-11 and the PDP-8, you can come up, but I mean, you're at a loss. And so it's nice. Kyle's really nice about, hey, what do you want to know about it? And he'll tell you all about it if you don't.
That's cool. So much to see. This is a huge retro candy store.
Yeah, it's a computer museum that, comes back every year type things.
Yeah, look at that big ass joystick. That's a beast.
With real arcade buttons, though.
Yeah. Man, that VAX system, that's a big honker.
Yeah, that's what we had at the university.
I wonder if the hotel charged them extra for the electricity.
Probably.
Ah, they got little animated graphics like the little snakes bouncing around there on the screen.
And probably a DEC VT52 terminal.
Bruce Moore says I may be asleep for the Tandy presentation. Is this going too long? Are we boring you to death there, Bruce?
Just about
Apple
over,
II GS. Yeah. Task Force.
Out there. I thought it was.
Missing a keyboard. All right, we're back around to the phones again. All right, we've probably seen a lot of that. Okay, we have. All right, we got a few more, but what's the consensus? I mean, other than Bruce who's falling asleep, you guys want to see more of this?
Actually, click on this one real quick because I want to see if anybody knows what the heck these are.
Which one?
The one that you got highlighted right now.
Right now?
Yeah. Has anybody ever seen this before? Because it was from CoCo Fest, I believe.
Yeah, this is a guy. He makes stuff. I forgot his name, but he draws and makes these things. So he made that kind of My Little Pony thing, and he makes these badges. I can't remember his name, but he's at CoCo Fest every year. He's an artist, and he always makes some type of thing that he'll sign and raffle off. Do you know who it is, Jim?
I do not. Okay.
I
saw it there, but I don't remember either.
Yeah. So 8-bit.
Stevie.
Yeah.
Another thing that you might want to try showing is image video 1378.
Okay. So to answer your question, Grant, I don't know the guy's name, but he designs these things.
Okay.
He's been designing them every year at CoCo Fest, and every year he's got a new piece of artwork that they raffle off, and then he usually makes like buttons and badges based on his designs. So this says 8-bit add with carry on. So it's kind of a play on terms, right? Like add with carry, there's the assembly commands, right? So 8-bit add with carry on. So it's just a kind of a geeky slogan. So I guess he made up these badges for that. Okay, I can't remember the guy's name though. All right, which one, David Ladd? The 1384? The widescreen one?
1387.
1387.
Or 1378, sorry.
1378. That might be the one I renamed to David's Surprise, which I'm saving the best for last.
No. Has your Dropbot or has your Google Drive updated?
I copied these the other day. Why? Is there more stuff in the Google Drive now?
Yes, there's been more stuff uploading.
In my Google Drive or in Grant's Google Drive? Because I'm looking at my Google Drive right now.
Then I guess that would be Grant's.
Okay. I don't have it, and I can't pull that one up right now. All right. So, all right, how about we just do this? We are going to play, well, let's just look at this one real quick, see how long this is. This one's a long one, so maybe not. This one's 20 minutes. All right, we're gonna pause that one. We're gonna save the best for last now. This is a little video that I like to call David's Surprise. You guys ready for this?
Yep.
Linda's gonna present it to you. Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
So
in honor of CoCo Fest and your loss, Belinda and I are going to present you with. Get him in shot in there. There you go.
Now, are these pre-watered down, or?
Yeah, you better go lock those up real quick.
Oh, jeez. Thank you.
There we go. David Ladd and his Diet Dr. Pepper. So that's good.
So for people who are watching this, later, they need to understand.
Don't eat it until you try it.
People who don't remember, so at CoCo Fest, we were there the night before. We finished setting up. David comes down. He's got evidently a watered down Diet Dr. Pepper, and he's been nursing it all night. He leaves to go do something, and somebody swipes his Diet Dr. Pepper, and probably somebody just cleaning up. Who knows? But anyway, he was just so remorseful, and he could not get over this the whole CoCo Fest and for days and weeks afterwards. So my daughter asked, she said, "Is David going to be there? Because we need to get him another Diet Dr. Pepper if he's going to be there." So that's what we did the night before.
That was great.
Yeah, I think this should be a thing now. Just any show that David Ladd's at, we bring him Diet Dr. Pepper.
That's right.
Oh, jeez. You just add water.
Yeah. The water's critical.
Wow, and we've got a full panel here today. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out here this whole time. I noticed Diego came in a little while ago. Hello, Diego. Steve Bjork joined us. Simon's been here from the beginning. Al Hartman's here. All right, so we are coming on just at 2 hours. So I guess the first person I need to ask is how you're feeling. Steve, are you up for doing assembly? Or
yeah, definitely up for it. Took a little nap there for a while, so I'm really refreshed.
All right. Then what we are going to do is we'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back, and we're going to jump into the assembly language segment. And so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, folks.
Hi, this is Randy Kindig of the Floppy Days podcast. I just love me some CoCo, and nobody covers it better than Steve Strobridge. You're listening to CoCoTALK.
CoCoTALK will return after these messages.
In a world where RGB produces black and white video, one cable can make a difference. Switcheroo. CoCo3SCARTcable.com.
What's going on, guys? Stevie Stroh here, and I want to say thank you so much for being part of this adventure with us. It's been such a great experience in doing CoCoTALK every week, and the support we get is just amazing. And so the fact that you watch and listen is all the reward that we need. However, if you would like to become a patron of the show and offer some financial assistance towards the production and hosting costs of the show, we do have a Patreon. We site spare all available expenses on for production that, costs and at you can reach CoCoTALK that by going to our website at CoCoTalk.live and clicking on the Patreon link. But just do us a favor and watch and listen to the show.
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
But JT...
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model 100 computer. It's a word processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even communicates with the office computer.
Fletcher, how's that report? Fletcher.
Radio Shack's Model 100. Save $300 and put it to work.
You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
All right, we are back, and that Fletcher has gone far, right? How far did Fletcher go? Anybody know? Anybody track Fletcher's career after that?
Nope.
Several furlongs.
All right, well, we are here, and we missed a week or so of this, and there lots of people have been commenting saying, we need more assembly. I'm really liking the assembly series. And so we're back with more assembly. This will be part 7 in our ongoing series of learning assembly language hosted by legendary game designer Mr. Steve Bjork. And we're going to jump in here in just a minute. Are you ready, Mr. Bjork?
Yep. All set here.
Okay, let's make sure I find the right thing to switch over to. Here we go. I've got you. I've got the slide. How about we start off with a little bit of music here to make this more professional sounding here. It looks like Bruce Moore is turning into the troll today. He's saying he's going to fall asleep on the VCF. Now he's saying the audience is trying to wake up after Fletcher. Shame on you, Bruce. You should know that the professional troll's already on the show, and accept no imitations. So take it away, Steve.
Come on, Bruce. You can't fall asleep. Part of this is for you. Anyways, we've been going through, and some people have been commenting a couple of things here and there. 2 points I want to bring up. Yes, we are going to take all these lessons and add them into one course later on. We're waiting until we get at least 10 lessons under our belt before we put out the first video. And then we'll put out the next one after that. So, yeah, we do have a lot of lessons ahead of us, but this one here is probably the largest that we've done. And it really has to do with controlling how the program works. It basically, what order do you execute the instructions in, and how you can change that order to, based on decisions. So, it's kind of nice to have it where if you get hit in a video game, you actually die. And that's basically what we're going to cover here. The other thing too is in the previous one, there seemed to be a little bit of controversy because I basically said the arithmetic shift right was kind of broken, and it is. The arithmetic shift right works every time on signed numbers. The arithmetic shift left will not always work. At some point, you can shift too far, and you can lose the sign. You can have other things happen, and that's really the emphasis I was trying to make, is that you can get yourself in trouble on the arithmetic shift left, and you want to be careful when using it. So that was the main issue. Anyways, let's get on with the first actual slide. And as we know in BASIC, the instructions are executed in the order they're written. Well, not so much the order they're written, based on their line numbers. Line numbers tell the system, which is the next statement. We all know that when we do our line numbers, you're supposed to increment in steps of 10, because sometimes you realize, oh, I'm going to need an instruction in between these two, and you can put in something that between 10 and 20, you can put in 15, and when you put in 15, it goes between those two instructions. Well, in the case of assembly language, the order is executed strictly on the base of where they are in the list of instructions. Now, luckily for assembly language, the editor allows you to put in lines in between of other lines and let you add things into the order. But also, just like BASIC has a go-to statement, there's a statement similar to that called a branch in the 69. And then also there's conditional branches, which is the same thing as the if-then statement in BASIC. Besides branches, there are jumps, but we're going to talk about that in to the next lesson. This is strictly on branching. And by the time we get to understand what, you'll understand there is a bit of difference between jumps and branches. Let's go to the next slide. Now I had to move to the next slide myself. Anyways, the first instruction we're going to look at is called branch or branch always. Basically, it's like the go-to in BASIC, and it will tell the CPU to branch or jump to another location in the program. Pretty simple and straightforward. Where BASIC uses line numbers, assembly language uses labels or names to jump to. So you can add to the beginning of an instruction line a label, and it knows this is a place that I can go to at some point in the code.
And it should be mentioned that labels are kind of like stand-ins for actual memory locations. You can also do a branch directly to a memory location, but that makes it a bit harder because you have to keep track of where that is. And if you've been, like Steve said, inserting lines and stuff, stuff moves around. So usually you'll let the assembler take care of it using the labels themselves.
Yeah, the beauty is, unlike BASIC, we don't need commands like renumber, because you realize that you made so much mistakes in your code that you have to insert more spaces to add those line numbers. You can just keep adding code. You can add thousands of lines in between 2 lines if you want. So it's, I consider it more forgiving than what BASIC was. But when you consider BASIC was written back in the early 60s?
668, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and it was designed for people working on terminals too. Anyways, this the slide that we should be looking at, I've lost the video for some reason that you've got there, Steve.
Where I'm branching makes decisions.
Here we go. All right, why don't we go ahead and go to the next slide. We've actually got an assembly language bit of code here. And this is an example of something that uses the branch always instruction. The first instruction, which says load X with the number 0, basically is you're telling X to point to the beginning of memory. Now, if you notice, there's kind of loop all the way over to the beginning of the line. That's a label. This is a location that we can come back to. Now, for this particular lesson, I have the label on its own line, but you can have the label at the beginning of an assembly language line. It makes no difference to the assembler. It'll work either way. The instruction we have, what we've covered before, is clear. That basically puts the number 0 in what you're talking about. And we can see we have a comma X plus. Well, that means is store where the X is pointing with no offset. That's what the comma, nothing before the comma has to do. And then you've got a plus sign. Well, we've never talked about that plus sign. That plus sign tells the instruction that after we're done storing a 0 in where memory is being pointed to by X, add 1 to X. In other words, move to the next location in memory. And then we have the instruction we've been talking about here called the branch always, and it's going back to loop, which basically means, hey, stop moving down the list of instructions and go to where I'm talking about, where loop. And basically, the next time that next instruction will execute will be the clear, where X is pointing to increment, and then it'll do a branch always to loop. This is an example of an endless loop. It will do this forever. Trust me, the computer will run this way until it either crashes or you turn it off.
You're poking.
Yeah, it'll be crashed in this case because it wraps around at 64K back to 0. So actually it'll overwrite itself at some point.
Yep. So it'll destroy memory. But it is an example of an infinite loop. And you'd be surprised how fast that infinite loop can run.
Wow.
In a blink of an eye, it'll clear all of memory.
Wow.
So, but this is what a branch always does. It says, always go to this location. And it's very handy. It's one of the more used branch commands that we have in there, because you might execute a bunch of code and then say, well, I've got to skip around something or loop back on something or whatever. But that's what this is. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right. As with BASIC, there are more than go-tos to change how it runs. And basically, we use the if-then statement to make decisions, such as if a particular variable is 0, we want to go jump in the program somewhere. And there is similar branches for making these decisions. The first set of branches that we're going to talk about is ones based on the condition codes of 0 flag, carry flag, negative flag, and overflow. These are basic flags in the CPU that get set or reset based on the operation you've done before, especially a math operation, or in the case of a shift instruction. Basically, if you're fiddling with information, the zero, carry, negative, and over flags, flow flags will get set. By the way, if you notice, the overflow has a parenthesis V around it. In the 6809, it's the V flag, but it means overflow.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was to differentiate it from zero, because people could confuse the zero and the O.
Exactly.
You may not be able to sure which one. I just mentioned too, just to recap what we've taken in previous lessons, these condition flags here are in the condition code register, the CC register.
Right. And so that's the reason why I handled all that stuff about talking about math and talking about shifting information around beforehand, because that affects these flags. And now we're making decisions based on these flags. And by the way, we're also going to be looking at some branches that take 2 condition code flags in consideration and making the decision. But that is definitely much later in the lesson. So why don't we go ahead and go to the next slide. We're going to start with the easiest decision flag to work with. It's called branch if not equal. Another way to look at it is branch if not zero. It basically says, it looks at the zero flag and sees that if it's zero, in other words, or cleared is probably a better term, because the zero flag gets set when the operation before it was doing something where it came up zero. And that's kind of handy for like if we're counting stuff or doing math. And it's very good for limiting a loop like we do in basic for next loops all the time, where we'll count from like 1 to 10. Well, this is very, very easy to do. And why don't we go to the next slide? And we've got a bit of code with the next slide. Basically, we're looking at doing that similar function before about clearing memory, but we only want to clear 10 bytes. So the first instruction, we load up X with 0. So we're pointing at the beginning of memory. Load up the B register with the number 10. You go, well, wouldn't you start that with the number 1 and then count up to 10? In assembly, it's usually easier to count backwards, and you'll see why in a second. So we load up B register with the number 10, and then we hit that loop label so we know to come back to this location. The next instruction clears memory and then moves that memory pointer, which is X, to the next byte of memory. And then we have our, and we talked about before, the decrement B.
Mm-hmm.
This subtracts 1 from B. This is, since we have an instruction that subtracts 1 from B, it's very easy to use. But the real reason why we count down is the next instruction. Branch if not equal. In other words, branch if not 0. Back to loop. B, this decrement B only gets to be 0 after we've decremented B from 10 all the way down to 0. In other words, we've gone through it 10 times. And now, so this loop is now limited to doing this 10 times. It's no longer an infinite loop and won't cause your computer to crash.
No, it's only wiping out 10 bytes of memory, starting at location 0.
Now, Bruce was working on something earlier this week where he wanted to clear out about 1,700 bytes of memory. And the suggestion they gave him was using a 16-bit register like X or Y, loading that up with that much larger number that wouldn't fit an 8-bit number, 8-bit register. See, 8-bit register goes from 0 to 255. Can't handle 1,700 bytes, so you load up X with the 1,700 or Y with the 1,700, and then there's a way to do a decrement on the Y register and then branch if not 0. But you can see that in assembly language, just because it's slightly easier to deal with, we like loading up a register with the number of times doing it and then decrementing it and then seeing if we're 0. It just saves a few bytes as far as memory, and if it saves a few clock cycles as far as speed. You'll get used to this.
Because if you do an incrementing one like you're used to in BASIC with a 4NX loop, you don't want it to hit 0 going up, because that would be like all the way to the end of the register. So you'd have to add a compare instruction to say compare, B to 10. So you've added a compare B to 10, which is an extra 2 bytes and 3 cycles or whatever it is. But that's every single iteration of the loop. So that's 10 times that. So you've just slowed down the code by 30 cycles. And if you're doing large loops like Bruce was trying to do with thousands of bytes, then it does slow things down quite a bit. So this is much, much faster and small.
Mm-hmm. The golden rule of thumb is you are trying to be efficient in assembly, because assembly makes your program faster. So why not in your thinking be efficient about how you put it together? And then you can save that extra 5% to 10% automatically.
Yeah, just getting good habits right off the bat. Basically.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. We count backwards. In 4NX loops, you've always been taught counting forward. It's just that if you want to count backwards, you have to use step -1.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but there's no performance boost in doing that in BASIC. But there's obviously, it makes more sense to do it in assembly.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a very slight one, I think, because it has to interpret the step -1 command, which you normally wouldn't even put on. So your code's a bit longer, and it takes that extra couple cycles to set the loop up. But it's pretty negligible compared to what it would be in assembly here.
Yeah, only for the setup. Once execution, it's identical.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. Well, for almost every one of these things where we look at a flag, we look to see whether or not we're not equal or not, not 0. There's a counterpart, a branch of equal. This is very handy if you want, or if you're searching for information, or you want to check something and see if it matches. Because if you do a compare, for example, and it matches, the 0 flag gets set. Simple enough. Because the two numbers are really, a compare is doing a subtraction without changing the first number. That's what it's doing. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Load A with the $71. This is hex location 71. And compare it with the number 255. And this is the infamous reset vector. The reset vector consists of 2 items, 3 bytes. The first one is whether or not the reset vector had been set. And they kind of picked the number 55 because arbitrarily it's a chance a number wouldn't be stuck there by accident. So is it a good vector if it's 55? And branch, do warm start if is. It's going to jump. See, this is one thing about labels.
Mm-hmm.
You can make them mean stuff.
Yeah.
Almost like they're self-commenting.
Yeah.
Do warm reset. So that's what it's doing. It's just checking. Now, this is not technically how this vector works, but I'm just kind of grabbing the general principle of it. That's looking at location 71. If it's a 55, we know that the computer had already done a cold start once before, so we want to do a warm start in our program. But this is how you're just trying to see if a location has a certain number in it. And you would use a branch of equals as part of that. So pretty simple and straightforward. Let's go on to the next slide. We're looking at the other condition code branching instructions. You've got a branch if the carry flag is cleared, or a branch if your carry flag is set. This is very handy if doing unsigned mathematics and checking for an overflow. In other words, if you added 128 and 128 in the A register, the answer would actually be 0, but with the carry flag set. So you could use the branch of carry set to know that when you added the 2 numbers together, you had an error, that you had a carry, and then you got to do something with it. Branch of positive and branch of minus, or, oh boy. Yeah, I did get that right. I'm sorry. Yeah, basically it's looking at the status of the negative flag, whether or not it's set or cleared, And basically, really what it's saying is branch if this number that we worked on was positive, go to a location. If the number was negative, go to a different location. And then we have branch if the overflow flag V was set or not set. So these are the basic flags. If you want to just check a look, your basic branches, if you're checking on basically the status of the flag. But these are not the only branches. Let's go to the next slide. So far, we've kind of looked at the branches on flags, or if two numbers match. What if you want to do like comparing two numbers and see if one's less than or greater than? That's something you can do in BASIC with the little triangle pointing left and right. It allows you to check to see if a number is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Well, believe it or not, this next set allows us to do it. So let's go to the next slide and take a look at the first one. Branch if lower. This branch basically says if the number is lower, go ahead and jump. So basically, if we wanted to do a compare A with the number 42, we would get a branch if the A register was 0 to 41. Simple and straightforward. It's actually the same thing as the instruction branch with carry, or branch if the carry is set, but they basically...
It's more intuitive.
Yeah, it's more intuitive, and it makes better sense when we're trying to compare two numbers, and we definitely want to branch if the number is lower.
Yeah. And it should be mentioned the branch if lower is for unsigned.
And we'll get into that in a second. Yeah. Branch if lower, the same. This is similar to using a less than sign and an equal to in BASIC. Basically, we're checking to see in our example if we're less than or equal to 42. As you can see, I talk about that if you're from 0 to 42, you'll branch.
Was I supposed to switch slides yet? I don't see the.
Oh,
branch.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that, Steve.
Branch if lower or same. Okay, so that's BLS.
Right. And basically what this branch is doing is looking at the status of the 0 and carry flags. If either one of them are set, it will branch, which is basically what happens if you do a compare A with 42 and the number, well, if it's from 0 to 41, the carry flag will be set. If it's 42, the 0 flag will be set. So we're branching whether or not we have a 0 flag or a carry flag. These branches are pretty handy because you don't have to do weird things like, well, on some other processors, you have to do a compare 43 to see if the number is 0 to 42. This one here, you can write your code as a compare 42 and do a branch based on less than or equal to. It just helps you write code that's easier to read and you're not scratching your head later. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now we have branch if higher. This basically allows us to check to see if the number is greater than, like if you use the greater than in an if-then statement in BASIC, greater than 42. So if the number in A is 43 to 255, it will branch to that new location. And this branch is looking at both the carry flag and the 0 flag and seeing if they're both cleared. Because we will branch if it's not matching, but we will branch if the carry flag isn't set either. So it's another one of those ones where they put it in there to make life easier for ourselves. Next slide. Okay, now we're looking at the branch if higher or the same. This allows us to check to see in our example, once again, you're comparing A with 42. If it's 42 through 255, it will branch. It's another one of those instructions where it's an alternative mnemonic to branch if carry flag is cleared. In other words, branches if the carry is not set. And it just makes it easier for your code to be read. Let's go to the next slide. Now, all of these that we've been talking about, as Curtis pointed out, are for unsigned, and in other words, numbers that will go from 0 to 255 in the A register, or 0 to 64K in the 16-bit registers, something like that. We have another group that allows us to work on signed mathematics. In other words, we're doing where you got 7 bits plus sign or 15 bits plus sign type of mathematics, or they'll go, in the case of 8-bit, you go from a negative 128 to 0 255 in an 8-bit register. And they more or less use the overflow. This is the overflow flag, or V flag, comes in when we're working with with these signed numbers. Anyways, the instructions are branch if less than 0, branch if equal to or less than 0, greater than 0, or greater than or equal to 0. Yeah, these are the counterpoints to the similar flags we just went through in the unsigned mathematics, but they're signed versions. Anything you want to add there, Curtis?
No, that's exactly right. It's just basically it's if it's a negative number or 0 is basically what you're comparing against.
Yeah, exactly. So, once again, you would use this in the compare instruction, or if you're, doing some other mathematics, something like that. But, once again, it's all about making decisions in your program. And believe it or not, from these decisions we've covered, this is how your games figure out whether or not you got hit, or whether or not you just died, or how many more lives you got left after you've died. If you should, end the game or continue on because you got one more life. It's just, this is basic decision making. Just like
it could be used for something like compare number sign 2, to check to see if Steve's past level 2, and then don't allow him to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I watched Steve, and it's like, even in the video we had of the Shrisharu, the guys playing the game, and the video of the Zaxxon ends just as the character is about to die. I go, gee, that must have been one of Steve's videos. Just like, that's one thing. Well, that's one thing, Steve. I have to say, sometimes I put a lot of work into the explosion of a game. When you blow up, you demonstrate that quite well.
Is there an assembly command called "screw you guys, I'm going home"?
Well, we've got an interesting one to talk about next, so why don't we go to the next slide?
Before we go on, let me just say hi real quick to some people who have joined us. So Dave Phillipson is here, and Ed Snyder is here, so they're having their own little assembly sidebar conversation. So maybe when we're done, we'll maybe scroll back and look at some of the things they were saying. But hey, Dave, and hey, Ed. Okay, so we're moving on to the next slide.
Okay. This instruction, for some folks, when they first hear about it, makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Branch never. What does this instruction do? Absolutely nothing other than not branching. Well, see, you have a branch always.
Mm-hmm.
And a branch never is the exact opposite. But all those other branches we had branch if carry, branch if not carry, branch if 0, branch if not 0. So that's one thing the 6809 has in it by its own functionality. For every type of branch, there's an opposite branch. So a branch never is an opposite case of the branch always. So it's in the instruction set. You can use it as an instruction that takes time. So if you're writing something that has to pause on the screen for a second, you can use a branch never to slow down that loop. Some people have used it to branch 1 byte of code, because the branch instruction consists of the command branch and then 1 byte that tells it where to go. Well, some people will shove into that 1 byte of where it's not going to use it as a single byte command just to save code. So it's a trick that can be used to write code that's really space efficient, but it doesn't really, let's put it this way. If you're writing code in the beginning, don't use it. You want to get your skills up first.
Yep. I will mention that it is used in Nitrous 9 for specifically that reason, both the long branch never and the branch never, to skip a byte or skip 2 bytes without having to do a separate comparing a branch to skip over, which actually takes a bit more space and a bit more time. And for time delay loops, like a no-op, like if you have something that's very specifically timed right to a CPU cycle, a no-op will take 2 cycles, which is 1 byte instruction, which means if you do 2 in a row, you can do 2 or 4 cycle delays. You can't do a 3. A branch never is 3. So now you've got a bit of granularity where you can set, if I need an odd number of cycles to pause or an even number, I can mix and match those.
Well, why don't we go to the next slide, because you just touched on something that I was going to bring up too.
Rob Inman also says that there should be one called an RQA, a rage quit always flag. So,
well, we do that as a macro for Stevie. Okay. One thing about these branches that we've talked about so far is that within the branch instruction, it has a 1 byte bit of code that tells it where to jump. Well, we know that if we're using 1 byte to tell it where it jumps, we only have a range of 256 bytes. In other words, it can only jump a negative 126 through a positive 129 in front of or behind the instruction. It's very limited in its range. Well, the designers of the 6809 felt that there are times that branching instructions, making decisions like this, you're going to have to branch more than roughly 8 bits would allow for. So they came up with something called the long branch. And all those instructions we've talked about, you just put an L in front of it. So a branch always becomes an L branch always.
LBRA.
Yeah, LBRA. And basically it tells the instruction that instead of grabbing 1 byte, grab 2 bytes. And those 2 bytes are then added to the current program counter. And then it's able to jump anywhere in the 64K of memory. So you're pretty well set there. Let's go to the next slide, though.
If L. Curtis Boyle ever needed to wear a bra, it would be the L bra. So.
You got it.
This is revenge for those level 2 comments.
But the question is, why wouldn't we just use long branches all the time? Because we'd never run into problems. Well, long branches actually takes 2 extra bytes of code over the standard branch. Or sometimes we refer to those branches as short branches, just short and long. One of those bytes, as I said, converts the range that you can jump from 8 to 16 bits. In other words, from 1 to 2 bytes. The other byte is called the modifier. This is an instruction hexadecimal 10 or 16 decimal that goes in front of it. And what happens is when the 1609 hits this 10, it says, oh, I'm using a different set of instructions to what I'm supposed to do. And then when it grabs the next byte, it is actually grabbing the command for the shorter branch. So you really, to do the command to tell it to do long branch is 2 bytes, and then you have 2 bytes for where it's to go. So it takes the instruction and goes from 2 bytes to 4 bytes. And that's why we don't use long branches all the time. They take extra code, they take extra clock cycles, but it's still faster than doing the following. Using the opposite branch you would use to jump around an instruction, and then have a jump to where the code is. So it's still a little faster than the workarounds you would do something like on a 6502 or some of the other processors out there.
Yeah, I was going to mention the 6502 has no long branches at all, so you have to pull that technique that Steve was just talking about to get it to do that.
Yeah.
Simon, yeah.
Can I chime in for a moment? I fully hear what you're saying about branch and long branch. A branch will take 3 cycles, taken or not. A long branch will take 4 cycles if not taken, and 5 if taken. and that's a bit of a difference. But again, it's not beginner style, you know. So I fully understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, we'll save that for later when we talk about efficiency coding techniques. We're not doing that really here. Just the main thing is that long branches do take longer, and they do take extra bytes. So that's why we don't do them all the time.
But it's necessary if you need to jump to a position that's more than 256 away from where you are.
And one thing the assemblers will do, if you use a short branch and it's too far, they will generate an error to let you know, bad programmer. And then you just go to the instruction and put an L in front of it.
Yep.
So it's easy to get around. Oh, one more thing. The regular long branch always, they figured you'd be using that quite a bit. So they made a special instruction on it. So it doesn't have to use the modifier. So it is only 3 bytes in size.
LBA?
Yeah, LBA is only 3 bytes, not 4. So they try to help you a little bit.
Yeah. Steve, I just wanted to ask, do you explain the difference between the relatives addresses used in branches and absolute addresses used in jumps later on in this? Or should
let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
I'm on the last slide right now. I'm on branching and making decisions.
Okay. Well, they're all branching and making decision slides. I didn't put a sub on there.
I'm on slide 20.
Yeah. Basically, when it comes to these branches, they're branching relative to the instruction. That means that if you were to take that block of code and move it to somewhere else in memory, it should work correctly, because really a branch is saying branch plus 5 places, or a branch plus 20 places. Whatever that label that you tell it to go to, it's branching that location relative to the position as a memory. So if you move code around, it'll work. And this is one of the key operations for OS 9.
Yes. It's the foundation of it, actually.
Yep. You can see that big smile on Curtis's face. If it wasn't for how that they came up with all this branching stuff where it's all independent position independent code, OS 9 would never work, because the way they do things in OS 9. But it works. It works great, and like that. Now, what if you need to go to a absolute location memory? Let's say for some reason you got to jump to location number 764. Well, there are jump instructions that are absolute fix. In other words, they don't care where you're coming from. They will jump there. Now, we're going to cover jumps and go subs and other things more in our next session.
All right. So does that concludes the lesson?
That concludes the lesson. Not too painful, even though we had 20 slides.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah. I don't even think we got Stevie off DEFCON 5.
No, we didn't. Again, it's all. I mean, what I'm doing right now is I'm absorbing all this, and I'm taking away from a little bit if I can. For me, and most of this will not sink in until I start coding, which I hope to start doing in the very near future. So I am trying to absorb it, but it's not like it's all just soaking in like a sponge, because it's still a little bit out of context for me. But I do follow the logic and how you're explaining it, though.
Yeah, I think we're going to get you to DEFCON 3 in the next lesson, because we are going to talk about stacks.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So how about we take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll address questions and comments from the panel, as well as what's been going on in the sidebar and the live chat. Does that sound good with everybody?
Good.
Yep.
All right. So we'll be back. Thank you, Steve. And we'll be right back after these words.
Hi, it's Ron Dovo, Timberman, and this is CoCoTALK.
And now, these messages.
At Gsoft, we make games for the TRS-80 Color Computer, TRS-80 MC10, and Dragon computers. Our basic games cover the range of genres from arcade, to text adventures, to simulations, to 3D, Dungeon Crawls. This is our latest puzzle game from Japan, Fruit Panic. So come on and drop by our website and download our latest games.
What's going on, everybody? Stevie Stroh, and I want to say thank you for continuing to watch and listen to CoCoTALK. We love doing this show. We think we put together a pretty good show for you, but this show could be better with your help. So if you would like to send a feedback, a comment, a suggestion, a show topic, or maybe even your own little segment or bumper, then send it to us via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. This show would be nothing without you. Love to hear from you.
Radio Shack, America's technology store.
Computer shopping has never been better at Radio Shack. Here's proof. Our new ultra-high-performance 386SX 20 megahertz computer with 85 megabyte hard drive, only $12.99. And it's from Tandy, manufacturer of the best-selling PC compatibles in America. Or get a 286-based Tandy home office computer with color monitor and hard drive, only $899.95. Shop your friendly nearby Radio Shack. Great selection, superior service. Nobody compares.
All right, we're back. Radio Shack, America's technology store. All right, excellent. Bruce Moore says he's looking forward to stacks. So for those of us who are here in the panel, before we get back to some of the live chat, how was the segment? And does anybody have any questions or other things they want to add to it or ask Steve?
I wanted to mention one thing, like he was mentioning that jumps go to an absolute address and branches are relative to where you are. Like I'm going to 10 bytes ahead of me or 15 bytes behind. One of the uses of using the absolute ones is if you're, say, calling basic ROM calls, like you're calling a subroutine in the basic ROM. Well, the ROM doesn't move. So you know that the keyboard routine is at, a whatever the indirect thing is. But you can actually, that's a good use of it, is to tell it to go specifically to these ROM routines because they don't move around. As opposed to if your program gets moved around, let's say I load it up in 32K or I might load it down in 16K. And if I tell it to jump so many bytes ahead, well, then it does move around whereabouts you're loading. And in OS9 level 1 in particular, since you only have 64K to work with on a CoCo 1 or 2, you may load a program when you boot up and it goes wherever the free memory is. And then you've loaded a couple other programs, run a couple of things. And then if you try to reload that program later on and some other stuff's there, well, now it's getting moved around in memory and it might go somewhere totally different. So having position-independent code allows that to happen where the program could get reloaded wherever it wants to. It doesn't have to be fixed at a certain address. And that was the basis of the 6809 and OS9 both doing that because most of the 8-bit chips at the time did not have that capability. Did I DEF CON you yet?
No, but I'm just, there's been a lot of the conversations that are happening in chat. I wouldn't even know how to pose the question or to say it. So I don't know if Curtis or if one of you guys want to take some of those things that were going on. I just don't. It's over my head. But one of the things that Dave Phillipson just said, though, in the chat, it says the BCC/BCS and the BVC/BVS branches are instructions that you would use to make the correct decisions after a signed ASL in case the result of the operation would cause an overflow. Does that make sense? Because there's way too many acronyms in there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Simon, I know you were starting to say something before. Is there anything else you wanted to add to anything?
No, I'm fine. Good listen, Steve. Good listen.
Excellent. What about anybody else here in the call? Eric or Diego? You guys have anything or Richard? Anything you glean from here? Any questions? Any comments?
Actually, if I can?
Yes, yeah. Diego.
No, I was just thinking, so if, let's say, you write your code, you have that branch, because you're jumping to a relative position from where you're jumping. If you eventually come out and edit your code and add some stuff in the middle or whatever, you need to go through all your branch instructions and you might need to rewrite them, right? You might need to change the target. Or
that's why you use labels. So when you reassemble, the label name doesn't change, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay. Every time you reassemble it, it's fine again. If you told it to branch specifically to, my location plus 20 or something, which you can do in the assembler, then yes, you would have to change it to a plus 25 or plus 30, whatever it was. But labels allows you not to have to worry about that. The assembler does it all for you.
If I may add something, Curtis, when you're programming in machine language, that's when you have to do the calculations and put it in the instruction to tell it how far to jump. But where you're doing it in assembly language, the assembler does all that work for you.
Yeah.
If that's going to help you understand
That's probably clearer than I did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
And audio spectrum analyzer, that was written in machine language.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, so have we beat this one to death?
I will add one other thing about the absolute versus relative, because actually it affects Steve and Rick Adams and a few others because of different philosophies and stuff for doing cartridges. Cartridges are always at the same fixed memory address locations. They always start at C000 hex. So if somebody wrote a program to be position independent, I think Rick did that with most of his, or pretty close to it. That means that if you wanted to copy the ROM down to RAM to run it in a RAM machine, it would just work. It would just move over and everything's relative and it works. So a very, very primitive form of copy protection in the early days was that if you had absolute ones where it was jumping specifically to addresses in the ROM cartridge, if you try to move it down, it would try to jump right back into the ROM. If the ROM's not there, crash. So just wanted to mention that.
So when people ported ROM games to disk, which has happened at this point, did some of those need to be disassembled and changed from an absolute to a relative branch?
Not change from absolute to relative, but you have to change the addresses to wherever you would move the program to. So if you can put it in the upper 16K of a 32K machine, for example, and it was trying to do a jump to C00, you might have to change that down to like an 8000 or something, wherever you move the program to. So you have to change all those jumps, all the JSRs to the new addresses you put them in.
Wow,
that was definitely some of my games, because I just would reassemble them for the ROM location after I was using it. Let's say I wrote a game that was 16K, but I had 32K CoCo. I put the game in the top 16K of a 32K CoCo to test, and then I would reassemble it up. Of course, then I also had instructions that would write over the ROM too.
Yeah, which of course on real ROM doesn't do anything, but if you have it RAM, it just trashes itself. Self-modifying code in a bad way.
Yep.
So Simon, Steve did use self-modifying code, just not for the same purpose you do.
Yeah, I create self-destructive code.
Yeah. And I have to say, Simon, your latest demo that you're showing off with the music and the plasma animation is very nice, sir. Some fine work from the madman. All right, well, what have we talked about today? We spent a considerable amount of time talking about VCF Midwest. It looks like it was a great show. I'm definitely sorry I missed it, but I'm glad a lot of us got to go. I'm glad the CoCo was represented there. And we heard some more assembly, and people have been wanting the assembly, so we've got some more assembly, and that's good. So what else do we need to talk about today? We are now at going on 3 hours. But have we?
It was a catch-up week because there wasn't a show last week.
Yeah, yeah, but it was a good show. We didn't cover any news, and that's fine. We always have to have something to talk about next time. Now I was gonna pose the question of a possibility of an after dark, but there's also the community roundtable that's going on this afternoon at 7 p.m. For is that happening?
Yep, it'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern, last I heard.
Okay, so I think the CoCo crew are going to assemble a handful of people together to have a community roundtable discussion, fall edition that will air on the next CoCo crew podcast. So I think that's scheduling to happen at 7 p.m. So I'm not sure how many of you are going to be attending that, and I don't know if that will.
Was that a private invitation or a public invitation?
It was went out on Facebook originally. I don't know how.
Missed it.
Yeah. Okay, so Simon says he's got to go. It's 11 p.m. Thank you for being here, Simon. It was good to see you. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, we maybe we'll get together this evening or maybe again this weekend. Who knows?
How about Sunday night?
Sunday, that kind of worked for our spontaneous show. I will just say to those who are still watching, we are looking at securing a few backup broadcast stations, so we won't have to run into a last minute problem where we can't have a live show, because there were a number of people tuned in to see the show. And the best thing I can suggest to somebody, if you want to know when there's going to be a show or when there's not going to be a show, if you want to be in the loop and up to the minute, you need to be on Discord. And for those of you who have not joined the Discord server and part of those conversations, there's a link in this video. A lot of people are on Discord. More people join all the time. But yeah, I mean, I was putting out messages saying, listen, this is going to happen or this is not going to happen. And so the people on Discord were kind of in the loop, but the audience, what is Retro saying? Yes, less Steve Stroh. So anyway, so yeah, if you want to know what's going on with the show, the best thing is to make sure you're on Discord. We've got a whole CoCoTALK section. We've got one section where you can put suggestions for topics or put links to news articles for us to talk about. There's another section called the CoCoTALK lobby, and that's where we're just talking about, you know, we're getting ready to go live or this or that together, and so some things like that. So make sure you get on Discord. All right.
Steve, I have a suggestion.
Yep.
Have we plugged Tandy Assembly yet?
Negative, Ghost Rider. We have not plugged Tandy Assembly, so why don't we do that? Let's go to some events here. Woo! Oh yeah. Tandy Assembly 2018. This is Tandy Assembly number 2, November 10th and 11th in Springfield, Ohio. Look at this mom here. She is so involved with her daughter's learning on how to use logo on her CoCo. It is great. And look at that. She's not only has she created a display in her CoCo in logo, but she's also printed out one of these three-dimensional Mandelbrot things that James Diffendafer is so happy about. So this must be OS 9 because she's multitasking logo and printing stuff, high resolution artwork at the same time. And her joystick is backwards, so the buttons are facing them. So kid's got dyslexia, but that's okay. So what else? We got a cute picture there. We know it's happening, right? Tandy Assembly is happening. Tandy Assembly number 2. Are there any new news on speakers? Okay, so there's some news here. Okay, we know Stuart Chaffee is our keynote. Then there is Arthur A. Glecker, The Making of Weird. I don't know what Weird is, but
it's a game.
Okay.
I remember seeing it in 80 Micro.
All right, and then we also have Jim McGinley, TRS-80 Games. So we got more speakers lining up. Thomas McLaurin, the Tandy 1000. Who do we have for exhibitors right now? We have Ian Maverick, The Right Stuff. Peter and Alex Zatinsky. Brendan Donahue is going to be here. Eric Dittman. CoCoMan.biz. Jason the Coco Man, our very own Coco Man, will be there.
Present.
Jay Neuwirth of Newsoft. Thomas McLaurin of Digital Dinos Retail. Richard Lorbieski of Boyson Technologies. Randy Kindig of the Floppy Days, who'll be showing off a Model 100 and Model 2. Eric Canales is going to be here. Potential candidate for presidency of the Glenside Color Computer Club. Eric Canales is with us. Evan Wright is going to be here. For you guys not familiar with Evan's project, number 1, Evan made Flood It for the color computer, which you can get on a cartridge. He's also got it where you get it on a GitHub. And Evan's got this adventure game engine where you can create your interactive fiction, and it'll compile it down to run on a real vintage machine, a CoCo, TRS-80, a couple of 8088. I think you can now compile it for DOS. Retro Innovations will be there. All right, Jim Brain, Cloud9 Technologies, Mark Marlette and Sandy Weimer, Arno Pewter and Sasha. Those are the guys who showed off their app store. And right now, Peter Bartlett and Malcolm Ramey are going to be here too. Peter Bartlett makes a lot of stuff for the TRS-80 line. So more and more exhibitors coming up. When we look at the schedule here, we have a keynote speaker at 9 a.m. We have some speakers to be determined. We've got an auction at 4 p.m. Show opens, keynote speaker. So yeah, it looks like there's some speaker slots are still open. We got all kinds of sponsors here. The Right Stuff, Ian Maverick, the Trisbit newsletter, Trash Talk, CoCo Crew podcast, Floppy Days, Bartlett Labs, Blair Robbins, enthusiastic supporter of Tandy Assembly and proud member of the thriving TRS-80 community, and Brendan Donahue of CoCo VGA, all sponsors. How many of us are confirmed other than we know? So Grant, you're going for sure, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. We know that Eric Canales is going. We know that Coco Man's going. Who else is going to Tandy Assembly?
I'm going.
Richard Crislip is going to be there. David Ladd, you going to try to? You have intentions on going?
Cue the crickets.
Cue crickets. And more importantly, David Ladd, have you drinking all of those Diet Dr. Peppers already since you're given to you at VCF? Yeah, well, it shall be determined. I would definitely like to go as well. Still kind of too early for me to tell, but if I can go, I've got my snuggle buddies save me half the bed, half the mattress with them. Evan Wright is queued up to bring my Tandy 1000, which he's been holding on to for me. So Paul Fiscarelli, I think Paul's going to be there. I don't see him on the list though, but hopefully Paul will be there. That will 3D Besnick function, the sombrero plot on the dot matrix printer is what Paul says. So Paul joined us for After Dark last week if you missed it, and he was showing off his disk tool, which is very nice. A lot of features. Paul says, yes, I will be at Tandy Assembly. So that's another one of us that will be there. So the CoCo will be represented. I'm hoping to be able to make it, show off my cosmic aliens. Well, let me just give you a quick news flash on that too. So I have a few more tweaks that I planned on making on cosmic aliens. My original deadline was to have something to show off last weekend, which I definitely could have showed something off. But now I have less of a deadline, except for maybe Tandy Assembly might be a release date. I was really hoping just to have it somewhere where people in the public can get their hands on it and play with it and give me some real-time feedback. So two of the most recent additions to my game are a couple of little assembly routines that John Strong handed me. All right, one of them replaces the pcopy command. So instead of using the ROM basic pcopy, it's an assembly routine. I just execute and it copies the page, and it made things faster. He gave me another one to do a PCLS, so when I want to clear the screen. Even though I don't clear the screen often, it was just something quick and dirty he gave me to clear the screen faster. He has now threatened and promised and teased me with a few other routines. So one of them is he's going to give me a font routine. He basically took my fonts and converted something into assembly. And what he's telling me right now is that he's going to have it to where I can use the print at command and actually on a graphic screen use the print at and print fonts on the screen with this routine. So it'll make font rendering go a lot faster than my current draw statement that's got to go through a for next loop and look things up and stuff like that. And he also said he's taken my sprites from that data file. I load in a binary file to load the sprites on the screen, then I use the get put buffers to get them. And he says he's taken all of those sprites and he's written an assembly language routine for them. So now the sprites will get loaded through assembly, and instead of using the get and put command, I'll be able to put sprites by executing something too, like a USR routine or whatever. So I'm going to have some cool get put routines and some faster sprites, and there might have been a third one. Oh yeah, joystick routine. He's going to give me a faster joystick routine too. So at this point, all of the graphic engine overhaul is now all going to be assembly, which will make it be as fast as it can possibly be, and still being a basic game. But what he
so is he going to send you the source for this so that you can actually kind of follow along?
Yes. So what he's said he's going to do is not only he's going to give me these to use, but yeah, there's going to be a source, and we can probably host some discussions where he'll explain it and use the code examples on what he did. And he said he wrote it in a way to where it's not necessarily the most optimized way of doing it if he was going to write it for himself, but he wrote it in a way where it's going to be easier to read and explain for somebody new. So it'll be something that we can kind of talk about and discuss. So there'll be some other than making my game faster, it will be some discussions on how assembly code can be incorporated into BASIC and some real examples of some assembly stuff. So I don't know when that's happening. It's to be determined. But since we're not quite in October and Tandy Assembly isn't until November, hopefully by the time before November, maybe I'll have that incorporated. So the version I can show off at Tandy Assembly will be the souped up version of Cosmic Aliens in BASIC. But yeah, other than some minor tweaks and stuff, I'm kind of done with that version. I can't think of too many more things I want to do to that basic version. And that was like step one. I have a lot more steps. The next thing I want to start doing is I do want to start learning assembly and actually working on coding. And while I'm doing that, I want to work on game 2. And I don't know what game 2 is going to be. I don't know if I want to start a CoCo 3 version. I don't know if I want to start a compiler version, or if I want to shift gears and maybe do one in QBasic that I can run on a modern system too. But I've got multiple versions I want to do because I figure it's going to take You're muted, Steve. Are you there?
Just wanted to say that whatever game you work on, you've got to work on it so that you can win it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it should be a Pong game. I don't know.
Pong, yeah, right. a Pong where you have a paddle that takes up the whole screen, so the ball can never get past you. An infinity paddle.
A magnetic paddle. It just follows the ball. You don't even have to move it.
Yeah. So, but no, I've had fun with this project, and it was a good project, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to learn assembly. I'm not sure how long my learning process is going to turn into writing an assembly game. So I figure while I'm learning assembly, I want to be working on my next project. And I'm just not sure what that next project is going to be. Is it going to be a CoCo 3 exclusive version or what? I'm still trying to mull that over in my head. But I want to keep the momentum.
Yeah. Well, phase 2 of the assembly language could be me trying to teach you assembly. And then you can watch me go to DEF CON 1.
And I think you probably, I mean, what John's doing for you is kind of the same approach most of us took learning assembly the first time. Would be you use it to accelerate a couple key functions in a basic program that just aren't quite up to snuff speed-wise, and use it, use it as a subroutine thing, and then eventually get to the point where you're writing a completely self-contained assembly program.
Right.
But John's kind of helping you along that route right now, and that's kind of what Nick did. I did. Steve, I don't know if that's the same way you did it originally, or
I dove right into assembly. But that's also because I was taught microcode in grammar school. I mean, in high school.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so Chris, I believe Chris is the one that said he was trying to get EdTasm. He just bought an EdTasm. He needed to get that going. And he says he's working on a Pong game. That's cool.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. And the demo that the demo video that Paul Fiscarelli teases with is Long Branch Never. That looks like a space shooter done in like SG4, Semi-Graphics 4. And he's got scrolling star fields and stuff like that. I kind of thinking I would like to do something like that too. When I learn assembly, I would like to do something in SG4 specifically, because that's got to be so fast. If you think about it, you're moving 32 bytes as one whole line. That's got to be super, super fast despite the low resolution.
Well, even if you were to do something that was 4-color on a 3K screen, that is so much faster than doing a 32K screen.
Yeah, like on a CoCo 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So to be determined, but I still got the bug. I still want to keep moving forward with this project, learning more languages, making more versions, making, the goal is to make a very fully realized commercial quality arcade game at some point in time. It's, we're not there yet, but we're getting there, baby steps.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Megabug's graphics weren't that bad for the time, and they were a 3K screen.
3K. Oh, so 3K is like P mode 1, right? That's the 128 by 96.
Yes.
I don't remember the P modes, but it's a basically looking at 4 colors, and you've got every scan line's doubled. So
right. Yeah. And did that game use, because of how you did the magnifying glass and stuff, you were doing double buffering in that, weren't you?
Yes, we were.
Okay.
That's another reason why we had to do a 3K screen, because you had 2 screens plus buffer to basically what was the screen look like without any images on there. So you had 3 3K screens. Well, you multiply that together, you're already at 9K.
Right, out of the 16K.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, so you had you had one screen that was zoomed out where everything was small. And then to do the magnifying glass, that was a third screen where you zoomed in and superimposed that on.
Now, the magnifying glass was actually created live. It took the image information and enlarged it.
Oh, so it just like superimposed that over the main screen?
Exactly.
And you just double buffered to put back whatever's behind you?
Yeah. Well, you had 2 buffers, one that you're working on, one you're displaying. You just switch between the 2. And then there was one screen that had had the screen with no magnifiers, just the way it looked. Yeah.
Neat.
Basically the source screen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Paul says he posted a new video just before the show. Can you let me do this? Let me Paul, I'm going to make you a moderator, and if you could put a link to your video in the YouTube chat, I'll pull up and we'll take a look at it. But yeah, so it's like on the one hand, I want to continue working on my space shooter projects, but I've got a couple of other game designs too in my head that I had made back in the day that I would kind of like to remake too. So I don't know if I want to do a side project or whatever, but I definitely want to keep working on games. I'm not sure I'm ready to write. I know for a fact I'm not ready to write a game in assembly from scratch. So I might want to do something different in BASIC. I think Cosmic Aliens was a good example of how something can look good and be somewhat fast still being in BASIC, but I think I want to do something completely different too. So
I still think you could. I think the first one should be something simple like Pong.
yeah. Okay, in assembly, you mean?
In assembly, yeah. Because you're looking at very basic elements, and you can build upon that. And then the next step is we'll have you do a Space Invaders.
Okay. And speaking of something too, so long term, I want to make a modern game on a modern system. I was recommended this book, which I bought, but this is called C++ through Game Programming. So this is a book to teach you how to use C++, but it's focused on using stuff you need specifically for video games. So it's not going to necessarily teach you everything, but it's teaching you things and giving you examples of things that are game-oriented. And this was recommended to me by my new friend who teaches the video game design course at the university. And they use this in conjunction with things like Unity and the Unreal Engine. So he said this would be a good book for me to learn that. So maybe, months or a year down the road, when I'm done doing all my CoCo versions, I want to write a modern PC version of this game too. And so C++ might be the way I go to do that. Cool, cool, cool. So what have we not talked about? Have we done enough show for one day? Anyone? Bueller?
Need to move on.
What's that, Richard?
I said it's about time for me to move on.
All right, hey Richard, here's Paul's video. Let's take a look at Paul's video real quick. Hold on one second before we go. We're going to take a look at Paul Fiscarelli's video.
I hope that's a new one. I just tried to grab it there because I noticed Paul hadn't put it up. So
you may have to skip in a ways. Skip ahead to about 7 minutes into the video.
Oh, 7 minutes in? Oh, there it is. That looks good.
Yeah, he's got it up at about 7.
Okay.
Hello, folks.
Maybe a little
this is
further.
Paul here from Long Branch Never.
Okay, 7:04 is where we're seeing the game.
October 7th and 8th, Chillicothe, Ohio.
Oh,
bit of
four-voice music. Close Encounters.
And we've
Stars.
got a scrolling in the background, and we'll go ahead and get into some gameplay. It is CoCo 1 and 2 and 3 compatible. We'll select RGB because we've got a CoCo 3 emulator going here. We're running VCC, and we'll try nuts. Shows that we're starting wave 1. Basically all it is I've got this ship down at the bottom that I move back and forth.
Very smooth.
And I try to shoot the ships that are coming down. We've got red and yellow. Really no difference between the two as far as difficulty, but they do show different score values on the scoreboard. I've got a fuel counter up in the upper left here. As you fire shots, it does consume fuel. And the other thing that will happen is if you let the enemy ships get past you, they will steal some of your fuel. Shows you, hang on, we'll wait for wave 2 to start. I've actually got it on accelerated gameplay because I'm still doing a little bit of debugging with it, but that's why the waves are coming so quickly. But as you can see, they're dropping a lot faster now.
Wow.
They will get really fast in a second as we get into the later waves.
I like how the laser looks like a squirrely.
How many lives I have left, and then scoreboard upper right. Fuel drops occasionally. that you can replenish your
Use
fuel
your F for
supply.
fuel. I like
you gotta
that.
Be careful. You can accidentally shoot your fuel, which you don't want to do. Wave 3, and you'll see how fast these guys get going. And that's why this level's nuts. It's impossible to keep up with. Yeah, he hit me. I don't really have a grandiose explosion.
Like watching Stevie.
This text mode?
It's a
all
crude
text
game.
Yeah.
It's functional though. It does demonstrate some of the capabilities of what you can do in 68.
Looks like a good game.
Yeah.
I've got a scoreboard. I've got a fuel counter. I've got ships moving. I've got a starfield scrolling in the background. It's text. It's if you haven't guessed by
Does
now,
it run in
it's
4K? I wonder.
Text screen.
Well, maybe not with the 4 voice.
Game over. So that's it in a nutshell. We won't play again, and we'll exit out of that. So, like I said, it's a game in the loosest sense of the words. I've never.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool playable demo right there, just showing what it looks like. Very cool. I like it. Again, one of the things I posted in the description to this video is a link to the VCF playlist too. So if you guys want to see what talks took place on VCF, I got a link to that in the description of this video. Is Ron DeVille still with us? Ron, did you have anything you wanted to show off today or anything you wanted to talk about?
No, not really. Just,
okay.
When I showed the Paul Barton thing was on the Show Me thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you visit Ron's garage, you see all kinds of junk.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing that Paul showed off, that's good inspiration too for doing something in assembly. Before you move on to, before you try to take on a large graphic screen, just even manipulating the text screen and gives you something to play with, Yep. And that's cool. Good job, Paul. And beta part of the show, what's coming up? What is he talking about? I don't know what Jim Brain's talking about. All right. Well, I'm glad when Jim was here and explained to us what we were looking at with his pictures on VCF. Grant, thank you for the video.
No problem.
That was good stuff. David Ladd. David, David, are you there? Cue the crickets. All right. David's not there. I really want to know if David got his, if he drank all his Dr. Pepper. All right. So we're going to wrap it up if we beat this one to death?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to start the beginning of the outro, and then we'll give you a chance to think about what you've done with your life. Tom C. says, you still here? Yeah, we're still here, Tom. All right.
I have one last thing.
Oh, go ahead, Al Hartman.
Can't find the email, but I got an email on one of the CoCo lists that there's a new revision of the CMOC compiler.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The compiler, I guess it runs on a PC system and it cross compiles.
Yeah.
To 6809 code. He's added a lot of new features that are graphics features, like to be able to do P mode and do other things as a command rather than having to write like an assembly program to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's made it more CoCo friendly.
Yeah, that's a CMOC compiler. Yeah, it's 1.53, I believe, is the new one, with some of the graphics support.
Well, you guys, so Paul was just chiming in too. So you guys have a link to the video. I kind of fast forwarded just to see the game. But what Paul's saying is the gist of the video is he's decided to turn this into a tutorial from a beginner's perspective. So Paul will be sharing his journey with us as he's writing a game in assembly too. So hopefully that's good to know that there's going to be more than one source of people working on assembly projects and is sharing the knowledge of the assembly language with the community. So we've got Steve Bjork's presentations on learning the language from the ground up. I'll be starting my series soon, just learning it from a book. Paul's working on something as he's showing it in the development of his game. So assembly sources, this is good. John Strong will be sharing some stuff with us in the near future when I get my goodies from him.
Yeah, so, and Simon's been sharing some of his source code for some of his music routines and stuff too, so on Facebook. So
Yep. So the resources are out there, and there's blogs. So Glenn Hewlett has done a lot of blogs on optimizing assembly and compiled sprites that he had to work on for his Pac-Man transcode. So there's a lot of people out there with this information too. Good stuff. And so, all right, we're going to start the outros here. This has been a good show. 3.5 hours coming up on, so not bad.
I can mention one thing. Roger Taylor has a NetMate program working out. keeps adding stuff to it, and I'm testing it for him and stuff on BBSs. But
that's his terminal, right?
Yeah, it's real nice.
Does it display as well as Sockmasters, or better? Or
better? It's got, you know, the buffer saves, and you could retrieve it. I think he's going to make it print soon. He's got all kinds of doodads and goodies on there, especially so it works on the Matchbox CoCo and FPGAs and other stuff.
Does it work on actual CoCo hardware too, or just those?
Yeah, absolutely, okay. Yeah.
That's what Ron's running it on now, right? So.
Yep.
You couldn't tell.
Okay. Yeah, which screen would that be? Would that be screen 9, 14, or 22? All right, we're going to get into this outro here, which I think is out of sync here, but we're going to find out here in just a second. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Hi, this is Antonio Jimenez.
Oh, this is outro part 2. Okay.
The TV Throw Devil and the SD Pack, and you're watching CoCoTALK. 3, 2, go.
I'm behind you making faces.
Okay.
Do you have a script?
You're rolling, Curtis. You say whatever the hell you want to say.
Well, give me some kind of guideline.
Hi, this is Curtis Boyle.
Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
All right, we're rolling. You say whatever you want to say, David.
Keep making faces at him.
Nation, world, sweetie, weekly, candy computer, something like that.
Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Daggereth like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
Thank you, David Ladd. Now get back up there for 1 second.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
What?
Let's get some DriveWire, TTL, ESP.
No, we don't need any DriveWire or TTL. Hi, it's Curtis Boyle, part of the CoCoTALK crew of people.
Hi, we're on Elbow Timberman. To experience Coco Fest, you must come. I brought the only working MC10. I could not get. Couldn't autograph. By certain someone you know. Oh well.
The world's leading weekly CoCoTALK show. Yeah, something like that.
Hi, this is Rick Adams, and I'm the author of Temple of Brahm, Shanghai, and now Bomb Threat, and you're listening to Steve Bjork on CoCoTALK.
8-slot MPI, you know, floppy drive, CoCo SDC, Sound Speech Pack, Orchestra 90, RS-232 pack, Modem pack, Super IDE. You start adding all those together if you want them all usable at the same time. Well, guess what? You just went over the 4-slot MPI.
Whatever you do, do not go over the 4-slot MPI. I'll just throw one more thing out there for those of you who are not aware. I've had this wild hair idea now to start this Halloween scare-a-thon. We're going to be playing scary games between now and Halloween. So I put a message out on Facebook asking for suggestions on games to play that follow in with the scary theme. I've got a little channel now open in Discord. So what I'm looking for, number one, is the names of the games that fit the theme. Number two, especially if you've got a link for me to download this game, and if not, just if it's a ROM or disk image I can run on a CoCo, just drag it into the Discord thing for me to play. But yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting idea to come up with. I got the idea originally starting to. I played a new game that's a retro theme game. It was called Uncanny Valley, and it kind of reminded me of the old LucasArts, texted graphics adventures and the old Sierra graphics adventures. But it's a new game that's pixel art. That's kind of this point-and-click graphic adventure where you move your guy from side to side and explore the environment. But it was kind of this mystery horror survival theme, and has different ways to play and different endings. And after playing that game, I said, I kind of like these scary mystery games. So, and we're coming up to October, so I'm going to try to play as many games that fit in with that theme as possible. And I've created a playlist that's already on my YouTube channel. And in that playlist, I've included a bunch of videos I've recorded from the past that fit the theme. So we've got Fangman in there. We've got Dungeons of Daggereth in there. We've got some more. I'll play those games again during the Scare-a-thon. But if that's something that interests you, just stay tuned to my channel, because I'll be live streaming those and updating that playlist as often as possible. Right now I'm playing a really cool game. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but it's called Alone in the Dark. Anybody remember that game? It was an MS-DOS game. It was one of the first pseudo 3D survival horrors. It kind of set the template that Resident Evil would follow, where you got this fixed camera perspective and you walk through the areas, but it's very kind of slow and clunky, but there's just something cool about that game. So I'm playing through that. I'll be done with that soon, and I've got my own ideas. I got a ton of suggestions from Facebook. There's a thread for that in Facebook too. Check that out and give me some suggestions, and maybe we can do some marathons where we're all on it together and just, you know, having fun like we did with Forest of Doom and stuff like that. We've tried this a few times, and it's probably worth trying again to play through and beat Dungeons of Daggereth. I know Curtis has tried to help me in the past, and maybe we can do that. I've got the version from William Astle, so we can save it to disk. So we can maybe make multiple saves of Daggereth as we play in case we need to roll back.
You will.
Yeah. So open to suggestions, looking for that kind of stuff, and hopefully that will, hopefully that will be interesting to some. All right. So
yeah, I suggested the Black Sanctum graphics version, Mark Data Products. It's a graphical adventure game for the CoCo that is pretty Halloween-y style themed, especially when you get later into it.
How long would it take to play through the whole thing? Could it be done in one video, or maybe it needs to be broken up into 2 or 3 like half-hour videos or something?
Somebody has made a walkthrough for it, so that if you want to be able to fast forward, if you're getting stuck, you can.
Okay.
Do it fairly quick. It's not very long. Like you could literally, if you knew exactly what you're doing, you could finish it in like half an hour to an hour.
We're talking about Stevie here.
Yeah, well,
Okay, so
that
5 or 6 days,
that might be when we can. Maybe we can have a stream party where we all play it together, kind of like we did with Forest of Doom and stuff,
Yeah.
So maybe later on tonight, after you guys do your little roundtable discussion, we can try to do a CoCo scary game after dark.
Is there a video of a kid playing Daggereth and hitting all the keys and going right to the end?
I have no idea.
Did I see that? I thought I saw that.
I don't know. Anyway, so if anybody's up for that, we'll chat in Discord later on.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, we're gonna beat this one to death. We're gonna press the button, Frank, and we're going to wrap up episode 75. We've been back after a week off. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the bunny cartoon last week. Thank you all for being here. Curtis Boyle, Ron Delvaux, Eric Canales, Diego and David Ladd, and Grant Leighty, and Al Hartman, Mark Overholzer, Steve Bjork, Jason Reichert, Annie M was here, and Toto too. We are now going to wrap this up. Thank you for watching CoCo Forever, and we'll see you guys sometime later.
Hit the button, Francis.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Nitrous 09.
23 people still watching. In the live chat, too, Retro Innovations, Tom C. Let's acknowledge them. Tom C., Paul Fiscarelli, Nick Marotta, Steve Bjork, Rob Inman, Bruce Moore was in the live chat. Dave Phillipson was in the live chat. Ed Snyder was here. The Zipster was here. Who else? Nick Marotta. A lot of Nick Marotta. Paul Fiscarelli, Coco Man, Davey Mitchell. That's as far back as I can scroll. Arville was here. Arville says, good show. Thank you, Arville. All right, we're pressing the button. Take care, everybody.
No CoreDUMP this time. Huh?
Nick Marotta. Nick Marotta was here. Yes. Finally, Jim Brain's favorite part, the end. Bye.